Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It is UFC 326 fight week. It is going down where we've got the BMF title on the line. Two of my favorite fighters, Max Blessed Holloway, Charles do Bronx Oliveira. We got the Charles do Bronx glove floating around here in the background. So you know that we rep deep for do Bronx on this show, but we also got to keep it a buck. Max Holloway, one of the greatest bets that we've ever had in the history of this show, plus 200 on the money line, plus 950 inside the distance when he slept Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. So it's nothing but love and respect for both these guys. It should be a fantastic main event. The supporting cast, it's maybe not the best that they have to offer this week, but we're going to figure it out anyway. And it's a pay-per-view, guys, so we have to do it not only in style, not only with guests, but we're going to a power panel format. It's been a long time since we've done one of these, but I'm excited to do it with two guys that are former friends of the show. And first and foremost, guys, I say it all the time. If you've ever heard me talk about it, there's a difference between placing a bet and being an analyst, somebody who could look at the fights, talk about the technique, break it down, move by move, position by position. One of the guys that I respect most in the game as an analyst, my personal favorite analyst, none other than Dan Tom in the building. My brother from another, how are you?
Oh, dude, that's way too kind coming from you, man. You wait until it comes apropos for all the wrestling and grappling analysis that I often come to this very show for, by the way, folks. I'm not just like popping on as a guest because me and Liam, go back and have so much respect for each other, but I have so much respect for Liam's analysis in the show and the guests he brings on. So not only am I excited for Liam's analysis, but I'm not going to step on it. Also excited for the guests, man. I'm happy and very grateful to be here, Liam. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to have you here, my man. It's always a pleasure. You know you got to protect your neck with Dan Tom in the building. But we've also got our guy, VB MMA Picks. You see me pop on with VB from time to time over on his stream. We do end up streaming that over here as well to try and make sure everybody sees it. Now we got VB for the full card breakdown. Excited to hear from him. VB, how are you doing, my brother?
Yeah, I'm doing great, bro, and thanks for having me. You've been on my show many times, and it's always great to have you. You are very sharp also. And this card is very good, as you mentioned. Like, main event is epic, but some other fights are a little bit on, some are good, some are not that good, but at the end of the day, if you make money, then it's good, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Well
What
said.
better way to turn a bad fight into a great fight than to make money on it? That's always the way to find joy in any fight, right? So speaking of fights where you have to try and find some joy, why don't we start with the big fellas? We got Luke Fernandez, East Coast guy, wrestled in New Jersey. He's a guy that has that high school wrestling background. I tried to look into his college credentials, didn't seem like it jumped off the paper as like, man, this guy's a stud, D1 wrestler or something like that. But I'll just tell you guys, if you're looking for competitive states in the United States for wrestling, New Jersey is going to be one of the top candidates that you look at. They've got a gang of great wrestlers out of there. Even guys that never made it to the state tournament can go turn you this way, that way in the third. So a lot of really talented wrestlers out there. I think when you look at Luke Fernandez, what he's done on the grappling mats, that's been probably his most impressive work, going out there, submitting a guy like Phil Hawes, getting wins over UFC quality guys on the mat while you're a regional level fighter. That's certainly a vote of confidence, right? Then you look at the fact he's gone out there, won a regional title in the CFFC. He's on a 12-fight win streak, professional and amateur, dating back to, I think, off the top of my head, I don't want to butcher it, but bottom line, guy's won 12 fights in a row. The guy's been doing it at, a pretty competitive regional scene. If you just look at the Northeast regional scene, tends to be a lot of competitive fights. So for me, Fernandez feels like the pick here. Do I have supreme confidence? No, he's a debutant. He's got 6 pro fights. He's fighting a guy who's gotten his ears wet in the UFC already in Bellato. But the thing I don't like about Bellato, I didn't like about him when he came to Contender Series, right? The guy can be knocked out. The guy can get over aggressive and emotional in exchanges. And when you watch how he fights, it's a minor miracle he hasn't been stopped more in the UFC. He had Ior Poteria had this guy on the ropes. A lot of referees, I think, intervened in that fight. Because I bet Ihor, of course, they did not intervene. They let him go there. And, Ihor doesn't really have a great gas tank. So Ihor punched himself out and then was just a corpse waiting to be taken out of there. But you feel like Bellato's kind of had some of these fights handed to him where if you give him the ball, he will run with it. But, he's the kind of guy, he's not going to take it from you. He'll walk into some stuff. He doesn't really have great defense. So he's more enthusiastic than he is skillful on the feet. He just wants to get in there and do things and try things and throw stuff. But he's there to be hit all day on the comeback. And I think that, you've also just seen, for a guy that's got good credentials on the mat, for a guy that's got a good ground game, you're getting taken down by city kickboxing guys. You're getting taken down by guys that don't really seem like they should be having success with you on the mat. So overall, I'm not sold on Bellato in any which way. So Fernandez is the pick for me. I think he gets it done by KO or decision. The thing I like about Fernandez, nice counter punches. Like, he kind of just sees when guys are coming in a little crazy, throws at the right time, put a couple guys down on film like that. And I think Bellato, he either gets cage pushed here or he walks onto one of those big shots. That's the way I see it going down more often than not. What about you, Dan Tom?
Well laid out. So I've been looking more into CFFC guys, and I know you guys and anybody in the audience listening who does tape on this, your tape takes you to CFFC as well. But I've been getting more of a bias just looking at, and as you know, Liam, they've got a great scouting as far as those East Coast talent pools. They know the wrestling communities from Pennsylvania, New Jersey that you just mentioned. Great shouts there. And for whatever reason, I was thinking this guy was a Marquez MMA guy or whatever, and yeah, no, he's up there in Jersey. And I was really impressed by, the fact that he was able to challenge himself, much less get the results in those, decision win, I believe, Eric Anders and Phil Hawes, like you mentioned. And he talks really big, and I tried to listen to interviews too much. He did an interview with my guy, Jake Noker, over at Home of Fight. Shout out to Jake. And, he definitely was, talking big for his britches, which always worries me, but it's also par for the course. But yeah, he seems to get the message where it's like UFC wants to see, KOs and stuff as far as angles. Of course, a lot of his KOs aren't like, clean, crisp counter strikes off the back foot or anything. This is a guy that can use his wrestling, get down and dirty and really take it to his opponents. And Bellato is a guy, like, I actually would defend him a bit. I don't, there are a couple guys that the Q word's being thrown around, and obviously I get why. I'm not like pushing back on it per se. I'm just saying that, like, I do feel like Bellato is a dude who will fight for your dollar. The problem is exactly what Liam said, is it doesn't matter about arguing on how much of a Q word quitter he is the fact that he's porous defense at the end of the day, which is, another fighter we'll talk about later. A lot of these guys in the prelims, right? So I'm going to go with Fernandez here. I tend to like guys like Bellato in these spots. Liam, you know me, I like my veteran underdog Brazilians, and I do feel like, I will keep an eye on the live line if this gets extended, guys. But, as a pick, I'll keep it pretty square and plain with Fernandez inside the distance.
There you have it, my man. So we tend to see this one largely the same way. I do think Fernandez has some, like, fight negating qualities. Like, every fight that he has, he just ends up him pushed against the fence, the other guy pushed against the fence. He kind of does that spin cycle that gets heavyweight fights to go over. I do think that's a possibility here, but I certainly think, he's also live to knock him out. Bellato, it's not just our opinion, right? We can talk about the data, what it says: 46% significant strike defense, absorbing 5.8 strikes in the light heavyweight division. That's not sustainable. That's the kind of thing that gets you knocked out. VB, how do you feel about this matchup? Does Bellato have another meme in him? What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you guys. I mean, Bellato is a tough guy, I guess, but he leaves his chin up in the air almost every fight. He's very hittable. He's sloppy. He's kind of wild. Even the guy Ihor, who I also bet Liam, like, even he had him in all kinds of trouble, and I thought it was over for like 3 times, and then it wasn't. Then, you know what I mean? When I first saw this line, I was like, kind of surprising, to be honest, to see a guy who is 6-0 only, at this line. But I don't know. I think Fernandez is probably going to knock him out. I took a sprinkle on the sub. I want to hear what you think about that, because I think Fernandez is doing some grappling, He subbed Phil Hose. As an amateur, he had a bunch of subs, so it was interesting to see plus 1,500 on the sub line,
Yeah.
So, I do know a sharp that took some late sub props on the Fernandez side, and they also have some Fernandez decision. I looked at Fernandez decision. I could just level with you at 5-1, and I just thought to myself, I was like, how wrong could you be in a fight where he's probably going to cage push? And Bellato, like, whatever drugs that they gave him, or PEDs, whatever you want to call it, whatever performance enhancing substance they gave him that he survived that Poteria fight, I don't know. I just feel like unless he gets subbed, unless you break his arm in half or like knock him fully unconscious, I feel like Bellato will cling to life for you, and give you those 15 minutes of effort at least. Even if he's not that skilled, I think he'll at least try hard for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think the sub is dead letter. I think especially like a club and sub. I don't think Bellato's a bad grappler. I just think, when you're on Dream Street, you're not really making good decisions.
Yeah, I've heard he has like great credentials in grappling, so maybe that's why the line is so high. But as you mentioned, if he's half unconscious, then it's like, who knows? You know what I mean? Like, especially like Fernandez has wins over like UFC fighters in grappling, like Eric Anders, and Phil Hoss is up. So
yeah, and he got him with that choke. I actually watched that match back. He set up a pretty sweet. I think it was a Darce choke, maybe it was an Anaconda choke, but whichever way he connected the grip, he forced his head in and then got it. And they had some competitive wrestling exchanges there too. And Phil is a strong guy and also a good wrestler, so that was bullish to see for Fernandez, I would say.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing to the sub hopes there is that it's kind of parallels with the fight, both the number and the analysis were like plus 1,500. How wrong could you be, right? To steal a phrase from Liam there. Spoiler alert, I might have sprinkled small at the sports book before I just came from the sports book over here in Vegas, guys, for doing the show. And, I sprinkled on a plus 1,400 sub. I'm sure some people can guess what it is. And that's technically not as good of a number if we're splitting hairs as plus 1,500. And you know what? I would actually feel better about the Fernandez sub if there was a gun to my head and I had to split those hairs, right? And again, the same with the matchup that I'm alluding to, which we'll get to, guys. I said this earlier today, where like just because you can knock out doesn't mean you can't be knocked out. Just because you are a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who can submit people, right? That doesn't mean you cannot be submitted. Even really some of the best submission artists in our sport. Again, we'll touch on those fights when it comes. And just the last thing I'll add as I throw back to Liam here is because I know Liam will have an opinion on this, where it's kind of like the turtle game once you get into the heavier weights like this, where even if you have a guy who looks like he's really firm and a monster from that mount when he gets there, Bellato, we see him throw punches there. He's got a good base. Like he knows what he's doing, but the disparity of like a welterweight to like a featherweight when they get on their back to a heavyweight to a light heavyweight is big. And sometimes that rank can go down to like blue belt level. Am I being too hyperbolic here, Liam? You know what I'm saying?
No, I get what you mean. I always say a talented heavyweight, you still don't want 265 pounds on top of you, right? Like even if you're really good at jiu-jitsu. So obviously these guys 205, but I think, both of them walk around probably off season, 230, something like that. They're some big fellows. So I think that, either one of these guys, you don't want to end up on bottom. And the longer you spend there, the more likely you are to make a white belt decision because you're tired of having weight on top of you. So certainly understand your point. But with that being said, fellas, why don't we move to the second fight on the card? Another disaster in the light heavyweight division. That is a category theme for light heavyweights, if you will. But we've got Rafael Tobias, a UFC newcomer, taking on Dr. Nurgozhay. And, I always talk about the guys that make you look the dumbest in this sport, right? Like when you say, man, I think this guy might have something, he might have some skills. I thought Dr. on tape prior to Contender Series looked okay. I thought he was going to win his fight on Contender. He won that fight. All right, we're off to the races. Maybe this kid can do something. And he has just been the drizzling shits in the UFC. Absolutely, a letdown so far. 0-2, 2 submission losses. That's the color. We'll throw it over to VB first. What do you make of this light heavyweight matchup? Are you part of the DR line movement, VB? What do you make of this fight, man? Because personally, I find it hard to get behind DR after the stunts he's been pulling. What do you think?
Yeah, I took him for half unit at plus 200,
Woo!
But am I confident? Like, hell no. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is just, if he shows up, I guess he can win because Tobias hasn't really been tested at all, against anybody really. Like, same with the first fight. Like, Fernandez fought a guy who was like 5-0, but he wasn't really a serious fighter, in my opinion. And same with Tobias, The guy he fought with, he was swinging heavy, but he had no MMA skills, basically. He got taken down and back taken and stopped, So I guess he can do it here also, And that's the thing. Like, Tobias has more ways to win, And DR probably needs a knockout here, most likely, Or if Tobias goes crazy for grappling and gets tired and ends up on bottom, maybe. and DR just camps out in half guard. Like that could happen also. So DR moneyline, I don't think it's the worst idea, but again, the guy got south by the guy Uran or what's his name, and it was Ezekiel Choke who does that, So I don't know, man. This guy is hard to trust, and Tobias sub is my bigger play here than moneyline. If DR wins, I break even. If Tobias subs him, I would make some money, So hope one of them comes through.
Nice, I like that.
Hell yeah. Dan, why don't you give us your perspective? I know that you have some insights. I've heard your sentiments on X this week, and dude, I think the floor is yours. I think you got unique perspective, man.
I do, but no one needs to hear that. I tried to keep it relevant though, and I left out some stuff when I was on the Homo Fight show earlier, because it sounded like I was picking DR. Which, spoiler alert, I'm not. Spoiler alert, Liam's setup was beautiful. I was in the same boat. I wasn't super high on him, but I was probably high enough to pick him, maybe throw him in a round robber or something. I don't know, but it was a big letdown spot. And you know what I was saying about being on top, for the bigger guys, I can't even give that grace as far as being on bottom versus being on top, because he got submitted, from top side with a double wrist lock Kimura, made Brenton Ibero look like freaking Sakuraba there. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what's going on, dude? So yeah, I can't really trust him. And I would like to, as Liam alluded to, he's a fellow southpaw with ticks. I don't know what his situation is. I'm not gonna weigh in. He's like same with Damir Uzmagulov. He had similar ticks, and people tend to focus on these things. I guess just the only thing I'll add is just be careful not to get lost in the forest through the trees. Like, for one, like, DR sucks. That's why he's losing. He sucks. It's not so much the ticks as they are tells you want to look for. Because if we think about ticks, there's way worse ticks of a fighter moving his hand a couple inches this way, right? We all know boxing. We all know a rear-handed parry. It's basically the same inches away from your face in an opposing direction of whatever the heck DR is doing, right? Where we have actual guys like Darren Till, who is one of the few guys who actually got caught, ticking. He did the Muay Thai tick where they pull up the shorts, like Dustin Poirier, or you see guys like Loner Kavanaugh, who did well last week, but we've seen him like Bobby Green, where they have these, again, this probably falls under more tendencies, but they'll reset with their hands low. And to the point is that's more detrimental than, moving your hand a couple inches and still having it by your head. So I see a lot of people focus on that, like, almost too much. They did it with Damir Uzmagulov too, right? And just be careful. Don't miss the forest of the trees. And you want to look at tendencies. That's why guys like, VB makes his money on. I'm sure he looks a lot at tendencies. I know my guy Liam knows where his butter is bred when it comes to submission grappling and submission props, right? He knows his strength. And Liam, I'm guessing you're looking for tendencies there, right? So the tendencies are going to make you guys money. So that's all I want to say. I'm not trying to preach to anybody and make jokes. Just make them funny and try to punch up when you can. But yeah, man, I got no qualms here. I got Tobias here, but I'm not high on him obviously either. So, like, from a betting perspective, guys, like, I'm not really too excited. Although I did like VB's angle, I'm going to root for that. But for me personally, though, I just decided to stay away from this fight. But I don't blame anybody who took heavens to Nurgozhay over there from at 2-1, like VB got, or if you got even better, right? Like, I totally get that. No shame here.
Yeah, man. I looked at this fight and I look at the data, the box scores, right? And, box scores aren't everything. So you got to go back and watch the fights too. But the box scores about DR tell me this. He's been knocked down twice. He's been reversed twice, meaning like he gets the takedown. He's got 100% takedown defense rate.
Yes.
He shoots the takedown, gets on top, gets reversed, and gets submitted twice. And he's fought 3 rounds of UFC fighting. And he's been knocked down twice, reversed twice, submitted twice. That's a disaster. That's just like every part of that is wrong. Every part of it's bad. On the feet, we're getting hurt. We're getting knocked down. On the ground, we're getting to the positions we want. We can't keep them. We're getting reversed. We're getting finished. That's a disaster. So as far as I'm concerned, it's Tobias sub 1, sub 2. Tobias is not good, right? Like, I think the time to fade Tobias will be coming shortly. I just think like if he knows how to do the wrestle, if he knows how to do the jiu-jitsu, this other guy is submitting himself.
Yes,
Brenson
yeah.
Iberio, I got to just say this because it's burning a hole in my heart. I wrote up the best write-up of my life, didn't cash, right? The best write-up of my life, the most accurate write-up of my life. I have nothing to show for it. Brenson Iberio via submission, guillotine choke. I wrote it up to a T. He's got the guy in the choke, and he loses the choke from the mount. I still to this day can't understand mechanically what went wrong with his grip sequencing, that he lost a perfectly fully locked in choke, but he is able to submit DR effortlessly shortly after in his career. That's a huge problem, right? That other guy was terrible.
Yes,
terrible.
Yes.
So
yes.
if you can't submit that guy and you can submit DR with the shocking quickness, that's big problems for DR as far as I'm concerned. So maybe he comes back and wins this one. Hats off to him if he does, right? These are both guys on the right side of 30, as we say.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. Tobias, for me, if he wants to go out there and swing, it's a 50-50, right? Then it's anybody's ballgame. But I've seen one guy just go out there and get submitted in comical fashion a bunch of times and another guy not get submitted. So it's just like, I got to go with Tobias until proven otherwise. Shout out to our guy, Reen. Is that how I pronounce that? Reen Shun? Oh, my gosh. I actually just put together who this is. Reen Shun. You're the GOAT for that. I appreciate you, my brother. And I'm pretty sure I put together who that is. God bless you. Shout out to Dixon as well. He says arm triangle. I could see that. DR, he's trying to hit for the cycle. So whichever one he hasn't been submitted by yet, pick that one. He's going to get submitted by that one this week. You can mark that down.
Dixon Cider. I will say real quick though, just I didn't realize Tobias's nickname was bipolar. So if you'll allow me to make a joke, maybe DR should be Tourette's, because we could have had bipolar versus Tourette's on the prelims. I mean, UFC.
You know what?
UFC's been expanding their horizons, right, guys? Let's do it. Let's go.
One community is up. Hey, you guarantee one community is up that day. So
yeah, there we go.
Much appreciated. We got Ron Shun is the current GOAT of the day. We've got to keep that in mind as we move to the second fight of the night, the third fight of the night. But the next fight on our agenda, we got Sumudaerji taking on Jesus Aguilar. And going back and looking through these guys' careers, like they both have these careers where you're like, man, Sumudaerji really hasn't beaten anybody good in the UFC. Like he's been around for a time. He's been fighting guys, but he doesn't really have a lot of very high quality wins that like jump off the page at you. Comes into the UFC, he's known he's a knockout artist. This guy knocks people out. Now he's only knocked out Malcolm X Gordon in like 10 UFC fights. So I don't know about that. Like I feel like the power, the knockout ability is a little bit overrated. Maybe that's just a function of the weight class and the quality of competition overall. But it's just to say Sumudaerji, the knockout guy, that kind of really hasn't materialized. Matt Schnell, one of the worst chins in the history of the flyweight division. I think the facts and the data would back me up on that. And you look at, he's out there, he's hurting him and not able to put him away, not able to close the show there, not able to seal the deal. Kind of lets fights slip through his fingers if you have to criticize Sumudaerji. On the other side, Jesus Aguilar, he's like the ultimate opportunist, right? The guys that he's lost to, you got to just say like, man, Rafael Esteban, like nobody wants to fight that guy. Misses weight every time, control grapples people to sadness. Like that's just what he does, man. He's a really tough out, and he hasn't lost yet in the UFC, 3 up, 3 down. And then Tatsuro Taira. Tell me who's going to beat that guy. Brandon Royval. Hats off to the guy. Everybody else that I rode to war with Tatsuro Taira, he came out aces. So I think that when you look at this fight, like sneaky could be a competitive fight. You look at the size, it's like, oh my God, what a disparity. They couldn't be further apart. The striking, like pure technique for technique, Sumudaerji, I think he runs away with it. But just it's a fight. It's a mixed martial arts fight. It's a Jesus Aguilar fight. Like there's going to be some griminess. He's going to be trying to get in real close and do something crazy, go to the body, go upstairs, jump for a guillotine. So I think you have to favor Sumudaerji slightly here on process, on his ability to, just put more out there to maybe hit and not get hit a little bit better, especially given the size dynamic. But Sumudaerji has been something of a bag fumbler throughout his UFC career, like kind of underperformed, didn't do his job every time you thought, and kind of won the fights he's really supposed to, but then against guys where maybe it's got to be competitive, or I got to go out there and earn it. He kind of drops the ball in those fights. And Jesus Aguilar just feels like he's going to go out there and give you his best every time. He's going to go out there, compete every time, hard to put away every time. That seems like a guy who's going to give you some chances to win. So I don't like the size dynamic. That's the thing that's really thrown me off. It's just like Jesus Aguilar might be swinging at air a little too much in this one. But unlike a lot of other guys that are giving up size, like I just think he's completely fearless to come forward and attempt aggression. And even pre-UFC, he's got a win over Edgar Chairez where he submitted him in round 5. This guy will go all day. You give him one opportunity, he's taking it, putting you away. So it just feels to me like Jesus Aguilar is going to give himself a chance for 15 minutes. What do you think about this one, Danton?
Yeah, first off, some southpaw stats for your pipe, with not much here, actually. Aguilar is 0-0. We haven't really seen him against a UFC level southpaw, so that's going to be big because not only do you have the size and that Liam astutely pointed out, but when you have the open stance dynamic, it almost makes that length accentuated, right? But I also like what Liam said about, Sumudaerji, who I like in this spot and who I like and I believe has been underrated. And I think even in losses to like CJ and stuff, I think he is showing improvements, to be fair to him. But Liam's correct. He does go a bit too close to comfort, which is why in houses, if it allows it, I actually like the split decision prop here. Just because we're in Vegas, the home of, the new wave of, Nevada Athletic Commission and all that. But believe me, folks, we still can get the splits here, just like the smaller regional markets. And I feel like it's a potential hedge or bonus if you're like me and you bit the chalk and threw Sumudaerji in a parlay. And I hand this off to you, to VB, but a question for both you guys. Answer whenever. And take your time because you might have to think of it. Maybe somebody comes to mind, but I feel like Jesus Aguilar fits this prototype, particularly because he doesn't look that impressive, right, with the eye test. But have you guys ever had fighters where they don't look impressive, but yet they keep winning, defying you, your picks, your bets, and you're like, how does this guy keep doing it, right? Like maybe if you bet back in the day, you're old like me, maybe that guy was Clay Guida, right? As guys of today that come to mind, like are Renat Fakrdinov and William Gomi, but even as being a grade A hater of those guys, even I can admit, like there's plenty to like on paper. They don't look bad. You know what I'm saying? Like I could see why they have people supporting him. Whereas like Jesus Aguilar getting off the bus, he doesn't even pass the eye test. Forget, skills that blow you away outside of his opportunistic guillotine, of course, toughness and all these intangibles. But you guys get what I'm putting down? Do you guys have a history of these certain fighters where you're just like, how is he doing it? Why?
I'm a sucker for a good guillotine. You know that.
Yes,
you know
sure,
that. That's
sure,
all it takes with
sure.
me. I see that and I'm like, fuck it, I'm riding. Tell me you can do anything else. Can you throw a punch there? VB, you want to go ahead with your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I know he definitely has a good guillotine because he has subbed real guys with it. Like Chairez is a good fighter in my opinion, Dyer also, like when he got caught in that guillotine, I don't remember, like he had to respect that guillotine. I mean, you guys are better at grappling, but he was like nervous about that guillotine for a second because it was pretty tight. Then he, of course, got out and subbed Aguilar, but even against this guy Esteban, like Aguilar had good moments in that fight. He even ended up on top a few times. He even took his back a few times. So Sumudaerji on the feet should literally school this guy. Like he may knee him, knock him out. He can do almost anything he wants on the feet, but if he makes a one mistake, if he gets his back taken, or if he ends up in a guillotine, I'm not sure he's gonna fight it off. Because I have not seen this guy defend submission against anybody who is good grappler so far. Like even Tim Elliott in the first round takes him down and subs him. But it's gonna be probably hard to track Sumudaerji down because Aguilar is very slow, kind of, and just swings overhands over and over. So it's gonna be hard to track him down. But if he does, like he needs, I think, one moment in this fight. He can lose like 14 minutes and win that one moment and win this fight. And sub is line like plus 400, so it's not that good. But I just took the money line here, close to 200 range. So I think he's live. To be honest, even though I bet this guy once against Shannon Ross, and then I've been fading him, and he beat Mendonca, who I bet against him. I thought he was bad decision, and stuff like that. So I'm horrible betting this guy Aguilar, and yeah, with Tide I got him though, in Leo. I bet Tide also with you almost on every fight. Not almost in every fight I bet him, even in his loss. So yeah,
Me
I think
too,
it's like,
BB. Me too.
Yeah, in his debut, Tyler's debut, I had max bet on him. People are like, "What are you doing?" But I thought the guy was special. And he wasn't at that guillotine, man. If you watch that fight back, like the guillotine was very
I
tight.
swear, this is gonna sound like Cope.
Yeah,
Tyra baits the guillotine. You can watch a lot of his
yeah,
early fights.
yeah.
Like instead of
Yeah.
going balls to the wall for the takedown, he's like, "Come on, there's a guillotine
Yeah.
right there, take it." And then there's a few times he played with fire, and he's like, "Oh fuck, now I got to flat back and roll out of this." But he knows that position. He's like, "Come on, take it, it'll be fine." And then he's on
But
the ground, and it's.
but
Over.
is this guy getting out of there though? Like if he gets his neck stuck there, I'm not sure he's gonna get
I
out.
mean, he's 1-5 to the sub. I will say he did look better in the Charles Johnson fight, grappling, than he did in some of those fights in 2023. But, it's still a question of if a big, long guy has somebody a little small and compact who loves guillotines hanging on their neck. I can just tell you from personal experience. Many a long man has said, you know what? I think I'd like my vertebrae the way that they're currently arranged, so I'm going to get out of here right now. I just think you gotta always be weary of these small guys with the guillotine. If they get that grip, it's gonna be a sad night at the office. Speaking of guillotines that could make for a sad night at the office, we got Cody Durden. Never met a guillotine he didn't want to shoot into against LiamPicksFights Tuman-Demberel. I tried my best, guys. We will throw this one first to our guy Dan Tom. We'll see what you got to say about this flyweight matchup because I don't want to monopolize the talking points here. What do you think about this one, my man? It's pretty closely lined. I think some love has been coming in late in fight week on the Tuman-Demberel side. I know early in the week, a lot of the folks were all over the Durden side. I'm fascinated to see what you got to say about this one.
So Durden, as he's gotten older, we've been seeing the cardio, issues become a bit more prominent. And Liam, I appreciate you. It's an honor that you shouted out the term on this show, but the hot rounds. Hot rounds refer to rounds a fighter, is most likely to get a finish in. But there are some fighters where their hot rounds are opposite. They have a round where they tend to get finished in. And that hot round has been round 2 for Durden. Even in fights he somehow survived, like the Van fight, round 2 is when it got the most hairy. And I still don't know how he survived that, right? And it's still blanking on me every time here, but there was a fight where he got armbarred and gave what would have been a verbal tap and has precedence for being a verbal tap. If you go back and look at Jake Hadley. Yeah. And that also came in round 2 as well. And if you remember like Danny Roberts versus who is that guy? Claudio Silva, new level. Remember he got that verbal kind of controversial because he screamed, but he was also trying to get out. He was front flipping out of it. And even then the ref still called it mid-roll, right? And whatnot. So, you could argue Durden got away with one there. And even when I picked Durden opposite Ochoa, I was like, you know what? There's way too much value on plus 500 round 2. I got to throw that in a round robin, and that hit and saved my butt. So just by rule, I'm picking Tuman-Demberel here. But I'm not in a rush to bet him at chalk. And again, coming from a dude who's got love, for Asia, Asian countries, and fellow Asians, but Liam, you'll feel me here, like as a guy who's been watching this sport forever and coming from American wrestling. Remember when we were just littered and spoiled with like all American D1 wrestlers who were either gonna maybe learn to put 2 hooks in, but probably learn some knockout power and produce action fights at the top level. And now we'll get to another Cody, but now we're seeing the American wrestlers being underdogs to the Asian prospects that are less proven. So what world do we live in now? But I am picking Tuman-Demberel. I threw round 2 in there by principle, and I think he gets it done by sub. I threw sub in my cycle. I got Sue decision, and I got Tuman-Demberel cycle. I know he pops pretty decently, and people have pointed that out. But the front choke acumen, even though he doesn't wrestle, and I want to hear Liam's take on this, he doesn't wrestle as much as, maybe you would like for the stereotypical Mongolian region. He does have some decent scrambling ability, though, and decent get-up ability. Not great. It's going to get tested. But, yeah, give me a Tuman-Demberel round 2 sub. What do you guys got?
We now live in a world where college wrestlers can make 6 figures to not get punched in the face. So they're like, yeah, fuck that. When it comes to
exactly.
The business interests of the UFC, they're like, wait, I could do real American freestyle and make money and not get punched in my head? Like, yeah, that sounds sick. Arman Sarukian's like, yeah, sure, I'll give that a shot. Like, that sounds better. I'll deal with that. I can throw some punches. They won't even arrest me after. It's sick. Like, everything's worked out fine for those guys. So I would say that's the biggest reason. But my man, the hot rounds, you already beat me to the punch, my man. That's going to be the summary of my thoughts on this one too. VB, what do you think about this matchup? Are we short selling, custom made Cody Durden probably fighting for his UFC career? You'd have to imagine. I think he's 1-4 or 1-5 in his last 6 fights. So, rubber's going to meet the road sooner or later here. What do you think, VB?
Yeah, if he loses, probably he will be cut. But I think Guy is very exciting. He's a good fighter. He has wins over good people also, like Charles Johnson, for example, is a good win. He kind of dominated him too. But is this the same guy who we have here? I don't know. Like this guy, what's his name? Tuman-Demberel, right? Like this guy, I mean, I'm not sure I've seen a fighter like him before. Like he's very interesting, like he has very weird style, like he doesn't throw many shots. He goes forward. It looks like he's winning because he just pressures you, but like this guy Carlos was able to outpoint you because he was just doing more. He was getting some takedowns in, and then this guy dropped him twice, and I thought won because of the knockdowns, but judges didn't, so as far as going to a decision, I don't trust this guy too much. I think he's more like a finisher, and his finishing props are pretty low, so I would just take the money line, I guess, if I want to bet this guy. But maybe like 2-3, like because this guy just doesn't stop. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's hard fight to call, but for me, it's kind of like a crazy fight. I think it's 50-50 kind of fight to me. So I took Cody here. Maybe he will lose. Maybe he will get cut. But I think he has at this point fought better guys. I mean, Charles Johnson. Volkaev, even though he lost to him, he beat also like Jake Halle, who's okay, I guess. And he has fought good fighters. Even against Nascimento, who is one of my favorite grapplers, in flyweight. I think even against him, he was doing very well, So I think he can win this fight. Even Cody by decision is not like super unlikely, if he gets back takes here going, but I think this fight is gonna be crazy either way, I don't think this fight is gonna be like boring. I think somebody's gonna get finished most likely, but if it goes over, I kind of favor Cody in this spot, Usually that's not the case, but in this spot I do. We'll see.
This is a tricky one. I look at a matchup like this and, as far as the hot rounds are concerned, I think Tuman-Demberel round 2, round 3, number 1, if you look at the market, I could just tell you I've physically watched on the sports books as this got hit down. I saw 650 turn to 600 on round 2. I saw 1300 turn to 1050 on round 3 with my 2 eyes. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Because I wanted to bet them both and I saw them evaporate in front of me. So I think that when you look at, those angles, that's certainly a way to consider this fight. Cody Durden has been finished in round 2 in every loss that he's had recently, except for the Josh Van fight. And to Dan Tom's point, he was nearly finished in round 2 in that fight. The fights that he's winning, he's nearly getting finished in round 2. It's just like, if a fight sees the second round, Cody Durden could be doing great. And then what's his name? Bruno Silva. Dude, Cody Durden was fighting the fight of his life.
Yes.
Like, he looks like fucking prime Muhammad Ali, just missing everything, landing everything. I'm just like, who is this Cody Durden? What have you done with the old Cody Durden? And he is just tuning him. And all of a sudden, Bruno Silva was like, athletic cheat code, pa-pa, and killed him. And I'm just like, even if he fights the perfect fight, he's going to lose. And it's just, that's a really tough thing. And I want good things for Cody Durden. I'm rooting for him. Like, I wish good things for him. I just think it's not going to work out. Last time out, Terrence Saturn, that's my boy. Terrence Saturn taking a step up from the regional scene on very short notice to fight Tuman-Demberel halfway across the world. Really not ideal for a UFC debut. And you saw that turned out in the result, right? Shit did not go his way. For me, it's the Hernandez fight that's the problem for Durden because here's the straight up reality of this fight. If you bet Durden, you're going to feel like aces in round 1 because he's going to take this guy down fucking easy, dude. Like Tuman-Demberel getting taken down by Carlos Hernandez at a moment's notice. Just like, he's like, you want me to sit down? Yeah, I got you. And he just hang out on the ground. Not good. But when you look at what happened in the subsequent rounds, Hernandez is a guy that's got cardio and he can scramble and he can move and he can do the pace game with you. And Hernandez was like, all right, please get away from me. Like, he kept getting on his ass and he kept throwing crazy straight punches. Did they look super sophisticated? No. Did it look like your boxing instructor is going to pull you aside? Class, watch this guy. Look at the way he throws. Absolutely not. But he comes forward and is just throwing haymakers and trying to hurt Fernandez as Fernandez is trying to flee, cover up, back up. He's falling over. I don't even know if they were knockdowns as much as they were. He cannot keep his feet underneath him because he's fleeing in such rapid fashion. And that's what Tuman-Demberel does. And Cody Durden doesn't have that self-preservation that Fernandez has. Not at all, right? He's going to walk into the fire more. He's going to be willing to say, let's go in exchange. Let's do that. And the difference is I just think Tuman-Demberel can get hit with a frying pan or a baseball bat and keep doing it. And I just think Cody Durden's a lot more human at this point in his career. The Makayev loss, I think it goes down as a submission. He got knocked out with a flying knee before the submission game ever, came into the equation. So I just think that Durden has a propensity for finding losses in fights where he's doing well. And a lot of that's mental, and it's hard to fix, especially when you're a guy who's 34 going on 35. He trains with good guys. He puts himself in the right room in the right conditions and tries to do everything right. And he gets the wrong result pretty routinely. And maybe with the step down against Tuman-Demberel, he could do better. But I just think Tuman-Demberel is a guy that's 15 minutes of being on your ass. And I don't think Cody Durden likes guys like that. I think he wants a guy that's going to, kind of break under that pressure, say, fuck, I'm on bottom. Fuck, I'm just stuck here. And I don't think Tuman-Demberel is ever going to do that. He's going to keep pushing forward, being offensive. I think he's going to finish him late. But Durden is the pre-fight side because I think he wins round one at a pretty high clip. That's the way I see this fight going down. Shout out to our guy Artem in the chat, the GOAT. Shout out to our guy Moyes in the chat. He trains with Orgil. He wins. There you go. Orgil, the GOAT. Orgil, one of the most underrated fighters on the scene. So Tuman-Demberel, about to show people what time it is for Mongolia. Also, I'll just note, guys, 4-inch reach advantage that hasn't been, super talked about here. 7-year younger. Like all the anthropomorphic advantages are on the Tuman-Demberel side, and now he's gotten his feet wet. 2 fights already deep into his UFC career. Jose Ochoa, who's 1-1 in the promotion, was able to snuff this guy out in the second round just by outlasting him. So I think that Tuman-Demberel's got a similar path. Next up, fellas. Oh, I'm so excited to talk about this one, and I'll lead us off on this one to see if you guys think that I'm absolutely insane. Haven't bet it yet. But I've been holding my hand over this Ricky Turcios side of things. And I'll just tell you the truth, guys. I love front headlocks. It's my shit. It's like if you were to say, Liam, what's your favorite position? Probably the front headlock. Just wrestling, grappling, any which way you want to do it. I love the front headlock. I think it's super effective. Alberto Montes, for me, is a little bit of a one-trick pony. There's nothing wrong with that if your trick is fucking unbelievable. Right? If you got the best trick of all time, being a one-trick pony doesn't matter. People used to talk about Spencer Lee. Well, he's just going to go to the wrist. He's going to go to the bar arm. Yeah, but he did it to a national title. So what are you going to say then? It's like, yeah, if I can bar arm every single person in the country, it's a pretty good move. When you look at a guy like Alberto Montes, if he could do it to everybody in the featherweight top 15, then you just go, man, this guy's Anaconda Darshoke is incredible. But I'm old enough to remember Makwan Amirkhani. Y'all remember our guy, Makwan? He's the GOAT, right? Cigarette cardio, doing his thing, models on the Topology picture. He checks all the boxes. But it's like, I've got 7.5 minutes to hit this really cool move and choke somebody silly, or maybe things are going to go sideways. And I don't think you can say definitively for Montes, like, man, if he sees round 2, it's all over for him, a third round and it's wraps for him. I don't think you could say that with definitive, evidence, right? But he's a guy that fights extremely infrequently. He's had 6 competitions, I believe, since 2017. He's not getting out there every week, right? He's not going out there every couple nights. So you look at Montes, he goes out there in Contender Series. Did he blow everybody's hair back? Did he got a nice choke? He got a nice finish. But in the first round, he's kind of getting put through the pace a little bit. He's going in the up-down. He's not really having that same level of success. His opponent slows down. He's able to lock up that front choke series. Nicely done. But I just looked at what he's put together on paper, and he lost to a 3-4 guy via knockout in 2021, and he looked horrific in that fight. He looked arrogant before the fight. It's like everything about it was like, man, this isn't good. And he hasn't competed all that much since. Ricky Turcios, like, it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. Montes looks better, no doubt about it. But what I know about Ricky Turcios is he's fought legit guys in the UFC. At the time, Ayman Zahabi, people laughed, right? Ricky Turcios, mind you, was minus 2XX against Ayman Zahabi. I was there on Ayman Zahabi, like, you guys are fucking silly. And Ayman drew a line in the sand and said, come on, walk over that. And he would not do it for 15 full minutes. But when you look at Ricky Turcios in every other fight, when he didn't feel the power of Ayman Zahabi, which, by the way, has kept everybody honest, 8-2 in the UFC, biggest improvement in a fighter in the last 10 years maybe, Ayman Zahabi from when he used to fight and get knocked out by guys that he's way better than, to now what you see, and he's a top 5 guy, top 10 guy. I think Turcios, you look at that fight, you look at the Raul Rosas fight. Raul Rosas got taken down in that fight, gave up his back in that fight, was in some dire situations with Turcios, and then Turcios made some mistakes, got out of position, and was made to pay for it. You look at what has Turcios done overall. He's got 2 wins in the promotion. In both those fights, he put up a tremendous amount of output. Brady Heastan can grapple a little bit. He knows how to wrestle a little bit. He can move around with guys. He's done a decent job in the UFC getting some wins, right? He hasn't been supremely active in the big show, but got some wins under his belt. Submitted guys. What's his name? Garrett Armfield. Submitted that guy, right? So you look at what has Montas done. Very little. They're the same age. Ricky Turcios, yeah, he's been looking worse because he's been fighting UFC level guys. He's moving up in weight, but he's the guy with the bigger height, the longer reach. So, like, where's the huge deficit for Turcios? If you had to say what Ricky does well, he's a pace grappler. Like, yeah, against somebody like Raul Rosas Jr. is a little bit more physical, a little bit more aggressive. You know, he was able to get on top of him, kind of big dog him a little bit. Who else was able to do that? It didn't really happen. You know, he got knocked out by Mana Martinez. That guy's got a great left hook. It's about the only thing he does really at a high level. So you just look at what we have from these two guys, and I feel like we have a more proven commodity in Turcios, who I know he's going to give me 15 minutes of cardio, 15 minutes of effort, hard to put away. And I got a guy who's been knocked out by a 3-4 fighter a few years ago, doesn't hardly fight. You know, he's been out for a while, and he's got a good front choke series. It just doesn't feel to me like that's 65%. You know, good front choke series, that's 65% in the UFC debut. It just doesn't feel that way to me. So I've been hovering. I haven't gotten there. But I'm considering placing real American dollars on Ricky Turcios this week. What do you think, Dan Tom? Am I out to lunch? Is my boy Pretty Ricky about to do the JOB?
No, I think this is a real easy, if I may say, dog or pass spot to make. And you're going to say, but Dan, you're picking Montas. Yeah, absolutely. And I deserve to be called a pussy for this and a couple other fights coming up because I just went chalk here. Right. There are live dogs and stuff that I have, even pre-flopped and round robins. Turcios didn't make that cut, but Montas didn't make any cuts for me either. I think, he's popular for like people looking for maybe sub legs because they look on paper and they see that and he's the bigger guy. But I have too much respect for Ricky Turcios' black belt. And I don't know if it's Brazilian jiu-jitsu or jiu-jitsu, or sometimes you can't take it too literal, even if they write jiu-jitsu and they mean Brazilian jiu-jitsu in their profile. But the fact is, Turcios has it on paper, and not just on paper in the resume. I mean, we've seen the fights, right? And sometimes that we've seen too much. So for me, I have some of the really bad performances burned in my head, right? Him, doing the karate hottie stuff at distance, was kind of burned in my head. And I was on Ayman Zahabi too. Great shout, by the way. Great Ayman Zahabi shout. And then even though Raul Rosas Jr. is, we'll get to him, I guess. I don't want to say too much. But, the emotionality is kind of what worries me with Ricky a bit. He can kind of get into that spin cycle where if the fight isn't going his way, I don't know if I can count on him to reverse it. But I do like that he's back training with Team Alpha Male. Speaking of front headlocks, right? One of the top teams to train with if you're preparing for it. A lot of fighters that were on this card, granted, some of them not fighting anymore, like Gaston Bolanos, who's granted more of a striker, but there was I believe there's another fighter too on this card. But yeah, they have a lot of fighters to be training with that are active up there right now. So these are all good things. I think it's dog or pass. I don't think you're crazy at all, Liam. But I am a poos, and I'm picking Montas here as the bigger guy. If he can use that and not give up too many positions by going for a one-trick pony, I could see him kind of riding out topside and hopefully showing potential improvements. Great point about the age. Last point for me is actually before we move on. But like you said, Liam, he hasn't fought a lot and there's spaces. So I'm just leaving a little bit of room to be surprised. Maybe it's a little bit of, overcorrecting the steering wheel. I got burned from Lonnie Kavanaugh, not giving him enough respect. This is a completely different level of fighter, but I'm just saying those principles still apply. But I'll take Montas, and I'm staying away from this one, guys.
Fair enough, my man. He's got the single shot high variance, the kind of spin kick game going at distance. He does some things that are flashy, but for me, I feel like I'd like to see him prove something here at the UFC level. What do you think, VB? Is Ricky not the guy, or is he going to give him a challenge?
Yeah, hard to say, because Montas, as you said, fights once in 3 years, so I don't really know, to be honest, in this fight. You know what I mean? I think Montas sub is probably the play. I mean, 290 plus 290, whatever it is. Because if he doesn't get a sub, he's not minus 180, in my opinion, as you said. So,
that's true. Yeah.
like, I just don't know. Maybe he goes forward. Maybe he will try to box, and that's what he does sometimes. But Ricky should be fine in that kind of fight, in my opinion, So, I don't know, man. It's a hard fight. Ricky round 3, Leo. Maybe that's what you like, here. Because if Montes gets tired, even if he's looking good early, you know what I mean? So, Montes sub, maybe, if you want to sprinkle. As far as money line, I'm not laying minus 200 almost on this guy. I just don't know much about him. Maybe he's improving. He's actually in a camp I like, to be honest. The camp Goche is not bad, but I don't know, man. It's hard to say after almost like 2.5 years or whatever it was. So I just think it's a stay away kind of fight as far as money line to me, both ways in a way. Because Ricky, I don't like either. Like, he was screaming, he was doing some weird stuff against Zahabi, you know what I mean? Like, I bet Zahabi too there,
He's an oddball. What are you gonna do? I mean, his line against Damon Zahabi is one of the greatest bets of all time. I bet 3 units at plus 170, and it went to plus 200. I was like, okay, I'll go again then. We'll see.
Ricky, don't lose
absolute
that
comedy
number.
lines. Absolute comedy lines with Damon Zahabi. But I feel like I faded Ricky Turcios with Brady Heastan and with Eamon Zahabi. So, like, if you give me plus money to fade Ricky Turcios, like, I'm there, like 100%. But I just think when I look at a matchup like this, and just to talk about the lines and correlated markets is something I always talk about. This fight is even money to end inside the distance. It's minus 130 to GTD, and it's like, if I told you for sure that this fight GTDs, you want Alberto Montes at minus 185? Like, no. God bless and good luck with that, my friends, because I don't think he throws a tremendous amount of volume. Whereas I think Ricky, even if he's going to do the fucking, line in the sand, air volume, he'll throw air volume. He'll give you something. He's going to throw punches in a forward direction. That's one thing guaranteed about Ricky. And I just don't know that Montes could do that for 15 minutes at this pace at a UFC level. So until I've seen that, I feel like Ricky's the side here at plus 160. But we will have to wait and see and live with the results. But speaking of Codys that are fighting for their jobs, Cody Brundage, he's up on the chopping block. He's got Dante Johnson, Lockjaw, great nickname, and a great backstory as well. I think his grandma told him, like, you get him and you break their jaw or something. I was like, oh, okay, that was not what my grandma was talking to me about. God bless you, sir. But when you just look at Dante Johnson, he looks like a guy that, the UFC is going to want to market. He looks like a guy that they could easily get behind. You watch him at heavyweight, he's a heavy Chevy, man. He's got every bit of them 265 pounds. Now he's down at 185. He's looking a lot more svelte. He's looking a lot more athletic. He's looking like a guy who could really do something with his career. Cody Brundage on the other side, he's looking like he's here. Cody Brundage is here again. One of the one of the fighters in the UFC. That's Cody Brundage. If you had to really sum it up, one of the fighters in the UFC. There's not much positive to write home about. He can hit with some power. He's got a decent 1 round in him. He's got a half decent guillotine if he pulls it. I have now listed off all of the positive attributes for Cody Brundage. When you see him in an extended fight, I mean, the guy's not a horrible wrestler, but like, if you're getting summarily out wrestled by Cedric Dumas, what else can I say? But like, you're not good at the UFC level at wrestling. That's not true. So Dante Johnson, we have a common opponent between these guys. Dante Johnson handled him accordingly, had a handful of sketchy moments, but for the most part, just showed levels. And Cody Brundage got out wrestled in really sad and ugly fashion, and in a way that really has to make you evaluate some career choices. So I think Dante Johnson's going to clean him up. I think he's probably going to hurt him unless he gets disqualified, which is always a live possibility when Brundage fights. I think Dante Johnson's going to win this one in non-controversial fashion. I think it'll be one-sided. What do you think about this one, Dan?
non-controversial fashion, we are talking about a Cody Brundage fight here, Liam. Don't jinx it for us,
One-sided is
buddy.
probably a
Okay,
better
there
phrase.
we go. There we go. Don't jinx it. Cody will hear you and he'll haunt us all.
Yeah.
No, but I actually was thinking about taking a crazy flyer on Brundage because of the weirdness and the experience gap of this matchup. Until I realized A, it's Cody Brundage, and B, even if we want to get more, stylistic about it, it's not even styles with Cody Brundage. Like, he will collapse. Like, you don't have to have a lot of skills. You could just be an athletic freak. Remember William Knight, Thick Willie? Remember Thick Willie, guys? And
Yes, a blue belt from my gym out-grappled Willie Knight when he was literally a blue belt from my gym, and he was in the UFC. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, he just did. Yeah, Willie. He even
Great
had like
blue belt, though, by the way. In fairness, great blue belt.
Yeah, and Brundage looked like he was a great blue belt with doing a basic back take, right? But William Knight did the what's his name from Pineapple Express move. I'm gonna flex and bust out of here. He did that submission defense, and Liam, as you know, some guys can pull that off. Sadly, as much as we hate to admit it, and Cody Brundage crumbled, and Dante Johnson does have that athleticism the way Liam was explaining from, you go up to his heavyweight footage where he shouldn't have been, granted, but the guy's a real athlete. So yeah, I'm going to pick Dante Johnson here, but if he loses, he's going to be Colonel Lockjaw there or something. We have to alter his nickname, but yeah, I'll go Dante Johnson here. Not much to say besides that, guys, for me.
I got to say Dixon giving us the Jason House warning. Yo, y'all do your own research, but that's enough for me to say I'm gonna keep clear of this one, because Cody Brundage always gives you a nice return on investment. So if they were ever talking somebody into this, they're like, listen, we can get a 5-1 return if you're able to go out there and forget how to fight tonight. So that's enough to scare me off of it. VP, what do you say? Are we overanalyzing the power of Jason House, or is it just us noticing when like half of his fighters were like, yeah, I've been approached to fix a fight before?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, but either way, like I think Dante is like, I don't think he wants to drag Cody to a decision because I don't trust him in that kind of fight. I think he needs to come out and throw hands, and land them and knock Cody out and send him to regionals, because I really don't think Cody should be back so quick in the first place. He got knocked out like 4 weeks ago or something, didn't he? Like, what
That's
the
by
hell
the
is he
battle
doing?
giraffe.
So like that's first, Second, like Dante clearly is getting set up yet again. Again, Cody Brundage did like unthinkable. He somehow got out grappled by Dumas, which nobody does, So it's like after that fight, he's been a fate to me, even before then. But I just could never trust the guy. And I think Dante knockout it's choke. It's minus 170, but I think it's good, to be honest. And yeah, I think he will hit. Yeah, that's pretty much it here. I think Johnson gets a knockout. I'm not a big fan of Cody. Somebody for sure is gonna parlay like 3 Codys on this card. Like if you parlay,
oh my god,
I've already seen it. I've already seen it.
Like, right, like if you parlay Cody Brundage, Cody Durden, and who's the third one? Cody Garbrandt, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Cody Garbrandt.
If you put $100 on that, you would do like $0.
Jeez. Yeah.
What about if you round robin it, will you also get $0? That's the real question.
I don't know.
It's tough because I feel like the average is like 1 out of 2 maybe wins, but they're all underdogs, so they could easily go 0 for 3. I'm not a big tinfoil hat guy, but Liam, you mentioned this, and I got to say this, guys, before we move on, tell me if this sounds familiar. Pretend, let's put aside the fact of an FBI investigation where we know what the outcome is, right, guys? Tell me if this sounds familiar. Minus that part of it, we have a guy in Lockjaw here coming off the Contender Series, and in his first fight, he fights a sketchy fighter in Dumas, who, and maybe I'm biased because I, like the rest of the world, thought he was going to get it done in round 1, but Dumas was fighting to not get stopped. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was doing all these weird moves and this and that, just flailing to just almost try to kill the clock in a complete opposite way that you would traditionally kill the clock, which again, if you're thinking in the tinfoil hat ways, right? And as soon as we get to round 2, even though say what you will about Dumas, even he's more proven in the cardio department than this newcomer Johnson. He was literally doing the pro wrestling where he's like diving, and it almost looked like he's whispering like, no, connect your hands. It looks so sketchy, guys, right? And if you agree with me that it looks sketchy, now he is going to face a guy who is not thought of highly, Jordan Levitt, right? Doesn't maybe look great getting off the bus, has a big plus number on his name because he always has a plus number. So you're not thinking twice about it because, of course, it's Cody Brundage or it's Jordan Levitt. These guys aren't respected at the window. You think it's business as usual, and all of a sudden, taxation, baby. Does this sound familiar or am I getting crazy now?
Hey, I hear where you're coming from, man, and it's tax season, 27 years of age, a young man, all it takes is one devil getting in his ear. Hey, listen, here's what we can do. 5-1 is the return on Cody Brundage if you forget how to fight tonight. You definitely got to keep that in the back of our mind. I also got to say, shout out to Ron Schoon, the $50 dono, absolutely unbelievable, off the top rope. And he says, but as for me, how good is it to be near God? I have made the sovereign Lord my shelter, and I will tell everyone about the wonderful things you do. Psalm 73:28. God bless you, my brother, and thank you so much for the support. That being said, we're right on to the next one. Speaking of Cody, we got another Cody. It's Cody Garbrandt. He's the only former champion among the Codys that we have assembled. It's 135 pounds. He's taking on Long Xiao on the other side, and Long Xiao is the favorite coming into this matchup. You'd never think it, knowing that nobody's talking about him. Everybody's talking about Cody Garbrandt. They're talking about fading Cody or they're talking about backing Cody. Nobody's even talking about Long Xiao. He's the forgotten man in the matchup. 27-10 at 27 years of age. The guy's had plenty of fights. And if you look at his record, he's been stopped 3 times. He's been knocked out. None since he was 19 years of age. So the guy has been fighting for a long time. He got stopped a couple times. No pun intended there. He's been stopped a couple times early in his career. Recently, it's been very difficult to put him away. Cast iron durability, even when the guy's cut, bleeding, he's seeing damage. That does not deter him, right? He's not a guy who's thinking about self-preservation. He's all in on, I'm fighting to the death. I'm fighting until one of us goes down. The last fight that he had, they just stood there trading like, all right, you go, I go, you go, I go, just landing shots at each other. So he is totally unafraid of getting into a fight, but he's not very skilled. So, he's a guy that's going to go give you opportunities. Like, he's a blank canvas. He's going to stand in front of you. He's going to try offense. He's going to let you try yours. I do think there's chances that he could get, made look a little silly in some of the boxing exchanges here, particularly early. I think Garbrandt's going to be more fleet of foot, a little bit better in exchanges, a little bit faster, a better decision maker. But the difference between these two guys is Cody Garbrandt's a guy that if things start to go bad, if there's any kind of adversity, things start to go really bad, right? Like, it starts to snowball, chain effect. It starts to get really shitty for Cody. Like, he's not a guy that can keep getting the train back on the tracks. Like, it starts to go, it's a 10-car pileup. It's a disaster. And when you look at Long Xiao on the other side, he's kind of a guy that every fight there's going to be some adversity. Nothing he does is clean and technical and pretty, but he's there for the long haul. He's willing to take 50 clean punches to the face in pursuit of victory. And I just don't know that Cody Garbrandt's in that position in his life, right? When you got a little bit more money in the bank, when you've seen, the top of the mountain, and now, you're fighting on the prelims against some guy that maybe nobody has ever heard of, and, shit starts to go sideways, you're both bleeding. Does he really want to bite down in his mouthpiece and go exchange with Long Xiao for another 5 minutes? Like, I'm not sure he wants to do that. So for me, that's the biggest difference in this fight. Like, skill for skill, who's better? Again, you talk about the Codys, except for Brundage. I think they're going to come out hot. I think they're going to come out looking great. But they're the kind of Codys that can just at any point bag fumble in a really big way. Like, it feels like their margin is, I got to fight a perfect fight. I got to be disciplined for the full 15 minutes. I can't make any mistakes. And if I do, I'm going to get finished. Something's going to go really badly for me. And maybe Garbrandt, against a step down in competition, he's been fighting top guys. He's been fighting upper echelon guys. He handled the Brian Kelleher's and the Trevin Jones accordingly. But he's got 3 wins in his last 10 fights in the UFC. And the Sun Sound knockout was beautiful, but not really something you're going to replicate a ton of times. The Sun Sound was a guy who's up there in age, right? A little bit post-prime, certainly at that point. Then you look at Trevin Jones. Trevin Jones has one win over Mario Bautista, which is like, oh, but it's just like that was the only win he got at this level. He went on to have very limited success even regionally after the UFC. So not a high-level guy. Brian Kelleher, New York's own. Shout out to the legend, right? Strong Island, stand up. He was a guy that was clearly post-prime. I think he had neck surgery at that point. He went down to a very weird punch. He got hit hard, but just like the reaction and everything else, it was like, oh, it's over for Brian. And I just don't know that with Cody in his current state, in his form, I don't really see him beating young, hungry guys that really want it. Long Xiao is a little bit bigger than him. He's going to push him hard for 15 minutes. And I just don't know that Cody's got 15 minutes to give. So for that reason, I'm going with Long Xiao reluctantly. I think round 2, 3 or decision. That's the way I see this one going down. Danton, do you see it the same way? Or do you think that the old dog's got one more trick for us? 34, not that old, but when you're talking about bantamweight and a guy who's already, kind of peaked out a while ago, 34 starts to sound a little bit up there. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I don't know how many tricks he has left. And even if he comes out looking good, if he doesn't finish Long Xiao, that could only bring about the end sooner than later, right? But not even just confidence, but cardio. We talk about his chin is obviously a worry, but even cardio, Cody tends to slow down. And I took Long Xiao as a short dog in his last fight against you. And even though I lost the bet, I didn't feel bad about it. You like to buy dogs who will fight for your money. We all use that term. It's not a bad term to go by, right? So, and Long Xiao is a guy who is going to fight for your money. And at that third round, he was just going elbow crazy. He's a wild man. Like, you don't got to worry about him. We can't guarantee a win with a guy like him or his level, obviously, but you don't got to worry about him fighting for your money. So I like that round 3 and those later round shouts that you alluded to there, Liam. And I will just say also, again, just to speak from personal health experiences, I'm not just a hipster. I wear the glasses because I'm a hipster, but like I wear the glasses because I've had concussion issues. And as folks know, concussion issues can affect so many things, including your vision permanently, which is what happened to me. I never needed glasses till I was in my 30s, and in my second camp for an amateur fight, I get clocked hard and just real bad concussion symptoms, right? And I had to do vestibular therapy and all these things I've heard Cody Garbrandt talk about. I wasn't able to drive and go to concerts for like a whole year. And I've been lucky. And granted, I haven't been in like heavy sparring, and although I almost fought since then once, but I never, knock on wood, had issues reoccur. Cody, as you would expect, what he does, he's had it reoccur so much. And he's also had something that Liam can talk to, and anybody who watched the sport, even if you're not a wrestler, what you notice about the wrestlers is when they get back injuries and when they get older, the wrestling is a going down, it's not as a graded, And speaking of wrestlers who were champions early and they lived off that mileage, and it was just loss after loss and excuse after excuse, not to be mean to Cody, but you'll see where I'm tying this into with all the list of injuries. I listened to the UFC Unfiltered interview. It was just like, oh my gosh, is this Cody Garbrandt or am I listening to Tito Ortiz? Again, shout out to the fellow old people listening, like who are old like me. But you remember Tito Ortiz? It was just like a whole laundry list. I'm like, yeah, I had the CC6Os, this fuse, cracked skull. And that's what Cody Garbrandt sounds like. And the fact that he can go back to vestibular mode where he gets vertigo, which is really bad symptoms, folks. He got that mid-fight against Figueiredo. It's just like, I'm not trying to poo-poo anybody that is putting the dog money here. It seems like a dog or pass spot, and I'm not going to talk you out of that logic. But a guy who is that bad in health, I don't care how much I like him or anyone likes him. It's hard to put, for me, it's hard to put money on a guy that can, fall that fast.
Couldn't agree more. And he also did the weight cuts and everything else. I'm sure that did not help with the concussion issue. So
yeah,
we wish him well. VB, what do you think about
yes, please.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Like, I think health-wise, Cody is not here anymore. Like he just, even against like Figueiredo, he was doing fine, and then gets taken down one time. It seems like he hurt his back or something. I don't know what's wrong with him, but I think he's just, to be like fair, I think he's washed at this point. At the same time, I don't like this guy Long Xiao that much. Is he a good wrestler? Not really. Is he a good striker? Not really. Is he a tough guy? Like, he seems to be very tough. I mean, he fights until the end, so that's a good trait to have, though. He's like Aguilar in a way, like. Not the most skilled guy, but he's tough. He's gonna come forward and he's gonna throw like 40 elbows at your head. You know, he may land 2, but he's gonna throw 40. You know, so I think he's probably gonna win here. Like it's a hard fight to pick. Everybody's betting Cody, it seems, but the line keeps moving the other way. Like, why is Cody still like plus 140, 150 still? You know, like why isn't so? Like, I don't know. That's also weird. Like, Liam, would you agree? Like, people are, oh, Cody's live this week, and everybody's saying, but the line is okay. Take 140, take 150. Bookies are
Yeah,
like,
there's
okay,
a
you want
going
odds
out of
this week?
business sale on Cody Garbrandt.
Like, this
Everybody's
guy
buying.
is probably checked out. You know. So what you think? Like, if you guys haven't looked at, like, what you think the under is here? Just take a guess without looking.
I think this fight would be favored to GTD, honestly.
Minus 150 for the under.
No, it's plus 140.
Wow, way off. Wow.
You know,
so that's a slight favorite to GTD.
Okay. Okay.
I wouldn't trust Cody to GTD anything these days. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, and also, like, would I be surprised if Cody like face plants Xiao, you know, with some crazy combination? I wouldn't be surprised either, you know. So, like, I took the under. You know what I mean? I think Cody needs a finish anyway, so I think the under is better than Cody money line either way.
Yeah.
Like,
the only thing that I don't like about the under here is just the pace of the fight. Because Garbrandt just doesn't throw strikes. Like he throws strikes with fight-ending intentions, but like he just doesn't throw them. So like when he throws, he kills you. But he just doesn't try like that often. He shows feints, he moves, head bobs. There's just no actual punches. Like he has to. He needs somebody to pressure him almost to kind of bring the punches out of him. So that's the only thing I don't like. But I do think both guys pack the power, and Cody has elite power. Maybe he could put down Long Xiao, and he doesn't have good durability. So maybe Long Xiao, who's not a big hitter, could put him down opportunistically. I could see that. But I just think that's the downside risk is like if this GTDs, it's going to be fucking 38 significant strikes to 52, and you're going to be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I stayed off the side because I'm with VB where I'm like, dude, not just from what people said, but even I predicted both the openers, the odds makers to set the line closer, and I expected way more juice to come in on Garbrandt. I was waiting here to fire on Long Xiao at minus 135 or lower, and it just went the other way to VB's point, right? So the only thing I have on this one, guys, before we move on, I just threw the value because you guys just made that argument for me. Plus 500 or plus 550, Long Xiao by KO. I threw that in a round robin. You can do a lot worse as far as flipping a coin to see if Cody Garbrandt survives or not.
Yeah, and I think that's the most likely finish outcome personally. And to see it at plus 500 when the fight not to go is even money like that. Yeah, that seems like a no-brainer to me. All right, next up. Oh boy, this should be a fun one, fellas. It's a rematch. We'll do it again. So nice. We'll do it twice. These guys fought at UFC 283. Bruno Ferrera was making his UFC debut, the Hulk, on short notice. Gregory Rodriguez at the time was riding a 2-fight win streak. He was coming in with a lot of piss and vinegar. He was doing very well in the UFC at the time. And Bruno Ferrera, I think watching back that fight, it's even more impressive than I remembered, honestly, because I kind of remembered it as like, man, he just bonked him on the back foot. Kind of like did that in and out movement, got him to kind of watch. He caught him looking is what I would say. Like in wrestling, sometimes you do that too. You show a fake. The guy's sitting there watching, both feet on the ground. He's not moving. He forgot what he's doing. And then you take it. I feel like Bruno Ferrera, he kind of lulled him to sleep with his movement up top, his trunk movement, upper body, but his feet were set the whole time. And he's like, as soon as this guy is asleep, as soon as I can lull him to stop moving and chase him with the hands, I'm going and I'm going to explode on him. And he put him away. But that's not, for me, what was most impressive about that on rewatch. It's that, when you think about a rematch, you always think about adjustments. And Gregory Rodriguez, known for excellent jiu-jitsu. He's got this Brazilian jiu-jitsu pedigree. He's a world champion. And then you watch the fights and the footage. And not only is he hesitant to grapple, resistant to grapple, when he does grapple, he does things sometimes where you're like, what? Like, it's like a guy who's like a victim of knowing too much. Like a little knowing's a dangerous thing. He's going for the Suluev stretch and like a reverse calf lock when it's like, hey man, maybe a rear naked choke would be effective at this level. Like, have you ever heard of the arm bar? Like the things that are going to win fights against other good guys. Like he's just trying shit that's like, your instructor showed you one time at class, like, hey, here's a move. Like, I don't think we've shown this one before. And for me, that's the kind of thing where I look at Ferrera and he's simple basics on the ground. Like he's not going to do a lot of crazy stuff where he's like inventing new moves, but he knows the things he's good at and he keeps it there and he keeps it very simple. As soon as Gregory tried to take him into the grappling in the first fight, because there was a brief grappling exchange, I even think Ferrera went for a takedown, didn't get it. Then Gregory gets a takedown of some kind. Like they're in a takedown exchange. Basically, he goes to turtle. And what you see from Ferrera and a lot of judo guys, he goes 2-on-1 baseball back grip. And he's so freaking strong there that he just was able to reset and get back up to his feet with it. It seemed like if RoboCop tried to hold on, he was going for a ride, much like our guy Jackson McVeigh, which, speaking of some of our favorite write-ups that are close to my heart, I called the belly down armbar for Bruno Ferrera against Jackson McVeigh, literally down to the belly down. And it's because I've seen him do it before. I knew he could do it. And when you watch this guy, he knows where his bread is buttered on the ground. He's not trying to do 50 different moves. He's got an excellent armbar, and he does it when he can. If he gets to the top position, he's more than happy to beat somebody up and ground and pound him out. But he knows that when he's got that armbar, he's going to finish it or break their arm. So I think that when you look at a guy like that, he's got knockout power on the feet. He just won a decision against Marvin Vettori, a guy who's a proven decision merchant, a guy who can compete with you for 15 minutes. Is Marvin a little bit past his sell-by date? Sure, but he just went and had a 29-28 with Brendan Allen that was pretty competitive where he had some moments as well. So I don't think you could say, forget that result. It's like, well, no, he went out there and this is a guy who hasn't fought 15 minutes much in his career. Now he can do that. He's got 2 submissions in the UFC. He's got multiple knockout wins in the very first round. Nursultan Ruziboev, that guy's 4-1 in the promotion. Abus Magomedov, he's 4-3, but he's fought basically as tough a strength of schedule as you can get for a guy that has been fighting, 7 fights deep in the UFC. Like he fought to Sean Strickland and lost. Like, yeah, my bad. I'm sorry I lost that one. I suck, I guess. That guy just won this main event last week as a big underdog. Like, yeah, Abus Magomedov's got a bad record on paper, but the reality is it's been a pretty tough out for most guys in the UFC. So those are the 2 losses for Ferrera. He's not losing to bums. He's the younger guy. They're running it back again. He's got all the confidence in knowing I knocked this guy spark cold in 4 minutes the last time I fought him. And when he tried to get me to the ground, I was able to deal with him there. When he tried to deal with me on the feet, I was able to land big shots. I took him off his feet with a leg kick. I landed big punches on the feet. RoboCop, for me, what has he improved? What has he changed since the last time that these guys fought? He's been knocked out again, right? Same problem that's been plaguing him throughout his career. He got knocked out again. And he also is a guy that's kind of stiff and slow. Like, RoboCop is powerful. He hits hard. When he hits people, they die. Like, that's the thing about RoboCop that makes him special. Jack Hermanson, I don't know if they still woke him up, right? Miktabek Orolbai was like just checking on him. Like, you look at what has happened, to Rodriguez. He hits people, they don't move. But you also have to look back. I'm old enough to remember. I love this phrase, but I'm old enough to remember when Gregory Rodriguez was doing the salsa and doing the chicken dance against Jin Young Park and then came back and knocked him out. And I was like, yes, because I had the -110 and I was fired up. But I saw him doing the dance there. I saw him on wobbly legs. And that's against a guy who's not a huge puncher, against a guy who, is mostly a pace merchant, right? And he had him out on the feet. And then RoboCop just did RoboCop things. Chidi Njokwani put a hole in his face. It looked like a gunshot wound. Like, you look at RoboCop, he takes damage. He's there to be hit in every fight. And Jared Cannonier is the side of RoboCop where you go, this guy is an excellent hammer and a really bad nail and always has been. So he can give a good beating. He can take a great beating. And I feel like on the other side, Bruno Ferrera, fast, mobile, kind of like a smaller, condensed version of RoboCop. He's also a good grappler. He's a guy that can be a little bit sketchy in the cardio, but he can hit people and knock them out, and he can get knocked out because he's a risk taker on the feet. So for me, that just feels a lot more like a 50-50 fight. If you want to say, hey, RoboCop's way bigger, he's got a little bit more UFC experience, okay, -125, I can get there. And the market's starting to agree with me. It's coming down pretty substantially. I'll just level with you guys. I bet it at +175 on Bruno Ferrera. He was +2XX the last time these guys fought, and he cleaned him up in the first round. +175 this time around. I don't want to miss it if he cleans him up again in the first round, and I think it's very possible. So for me, I just think this fight should be much closer to like -125 Gregory. I'd be happy with that. And, Gregory's the one who's got to go prove something here, right? Because he was a big favorite last time. He got put to sleep, and I think he's a big favorite again this time, and he's got to show me he's not getting put to sleep. VB, what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I really wanna like also mention like when I looked at this line, I really wanna like okay, let me bet RoboCop somehow. Let me find the reason. You know, and then I'm looking at the reasons. Like, hey, guy fought him already. They got knocked out. You know, and he's lined -200. Like I just can't bet him. You know what I mean? Like I can't make a case for a guy who is -200 after getting KO'd against a guy who's on a win streak, who is looking that like he's improving too. You know, like RoboCop reminds me of like a kind version of like Wanderlei Silva a little bit. You know, he's like a good guy or something. You know what I mean? And he's a nice guy. It seems. There is
Mm.
um one of our common friends, Leo, who knows him too. So he's like a very good guy. He pays attention to his students and stuff. He teaches BJJ. You know, so he's a good guy. It seems, but as you said, he's almost like too sophisticated is the word. Like he's going for calf slicer and twister and stuff like that. And against Duncan though, he did pretty well wrestling. I like this game against Duncan because
That's a
he
great
mixed
win.
up takedowns pretty well. But
Mhm.
besides that, he just does stuff that sometimes gets him in trouble. And also I can never forget the Contender Series fight. We got knocked out by Jordan Williams. That was a bad loss.
Yeah.
So if Jordan Williams can knock you out, like again, Bruno probably is gonna also knock him out again if he loses. If it goes over, I trust RoboCop to push more though. I think at this point he's kind of figured out how to fight for 15 minutes. A little bit better, but I just don't see value here. Like talk or bust. You got a good line, so
Mhm.
props to you. But I just can't bet a guy who got stiffed like that, at -200. Just I'm out. You know what I mean? If I miss that kind of -200, I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like whatever. You know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh, please go ahead, Danton.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I agree with VB. I think it's dogger pass for sure, and I'm picking HoboCop. But if I had to pick a side for betting, it's Rodriguez. And just to tie a point and maybe make you feel better about your bet, Liam. VB mentioned Jordan Williams and obviously the Bruno Fajeda, the first fight where he got knocked out. Both those I clipped from my Southpaw report. Now he passed the Southpaw test, and Kopylov did HoboCop Rodriguez, but both those knockout losses that VB just mentioned, they were both from the southpaw stance. So I'll be curious to see if Bruno Fajeda comes out with that stance. It's just Bruno Fajeda, he lacks process. His game's still a bit disjointed. He knows what he's good at, to Liam's point. So I have a hard time getting behind him here. It feels like a trap fight. It feels like even more of a trap fight with Bruno coming in looking great. And again, more information that again should make Bruno backers like Liam feel better about it. I will just say before I pass it on to Liam, hopefully he remembered the point that I hope I didn't interrupt him too badly on. I'll just say before I pass it on, I did take a leg here in an alternate round robin because I couldn't get the split props over the counter. And I was staring me in the face, man. They had HoboCop by decision at plus 550. Yeah, I had to throw it in because I'm more analysis guys, less woo woo, but seldom they say seldom do rematches go the same way in MMA. And if that's going to hold true, this is going long or HoboCop's winning. I guess I'm hoping for both for that alternate round robin leg, but I'll be more than happy if Liam and the Bruno backers cash here because it's dogger pass.
Well, I'll say, I got a couple brief notes as we exit this fight, which would be number one, we do have a common opponent between these two guys, Armen Petrosyan, and Gregory Rodriguez had enough grappling success that I thought my boy Hidalgo was going to be smooth sailing against Armen Petrosyan. I made a whole photo journal and everything about that. But I'll just note, right, Bruno Ferrera, he not only beat Armen Petrosyan, common opponent, he submitted him, right? So he had even more success on the ground. Despite having less credentials in BJJ, he has more submissions as a professional, 5 to just 4 for Gregory Rodriguez. So perhaps if you want to see a different ending to this fight, it's the belly down armbar for Hulk as he, brings RoboCop to task. So I just wanted to say, our guy Bruno Ferrera, always working over there, trying to make his improvements. And the last thing I'll leave you guys with, he's a constant switch stance fighter. So I think part of the reason RoboCop struggled so much in the first one is not just the southpaw look, it's the fact that he could never decide, like, which stance is this guy going to be in for the next engagement. I think that's the reason Bruno was able to take him off the feet with the low kicks as well, as opposed to Gregory, who's more, it's coming, but here comes the boom, right? I'm bringing big truck sticks. Bruno Ferrera is more fake. Everything's a little bit more deceptive and flowy. And I think that that's to his benefit. Ruziboev was able to counter him and knock him out using his own craft, his own deception. It wasn't just brute strength and aggression. So I feel like RoboCop, if he's going to get him here, it's going to take a little bit more tact as opposed to just raw, ruthless, come forward and swing. He tried that once and it went poorly. So I think he's going to try and make some adjustments here, be a little bit more clever. All right, next up, we got Drew Dober taking on Michael Johnson. This is the ultimate battle of the vets. I feel like if there was ever a vet matchup, my guy Dan Tom has got to be somebody I call on one like this. So I'm looking at Drew Dober here, 37 years of age, a little bit younger, a little bit smaller though as well. He's given up some size to Michael Johnson, about 2 inches in the height category, 3 inches in reach. This should be a fun fight, man. All action in the lightweight division. Johnson's been on something of a roll lately. Drew Dober, he's been on hard times. I think 2-4 in his last 6 fights. But the highs have been very high, right? Getting the big knockout wins, reminding people why he's a knockout leader in this lightweight division. How do you feel about the matchup? For me, I think I would not be surprised to see either one of these men looking up at the ceiling lights.
Yeah, are you asking me, Liam, to go first there? I will.
Yes, sir.
I'll give you guys some southpaw stats to work off of. Southpaw versus southpaw matchup, so it makes it even more volatile, right? Not just where these guys are in their career, 2 dangerous strikers with their first, skill sets there. But battles of lefties is tough. As a southpaw, no one hates fighting other southpaws than southpaws because you're predicating your game in the gym, in fights against orthodox opposition, open stance matchups. As silly as that sounds. So you could look at it and go, well, Drew Dober's more of a Muay Thai guy. He gets access to the leg kick, points to Dober, and absolutely points to Dober for that. And he has focused on that more in past southpaw versus southpaw matchups. Dober is 5-4 officially against UFC level lefties. Johnson is 3-4, but there's an asterisk. Speaking of common opponents, always a good thing to bring up that Liam did in the previous fight. Common opponent, Benny Dariush. It's a common loss, but Dober got submitted by Dariush, whereas Johnson, if you guys remember that one, that was an uber controversial decision loss where people even the promotion kind of moved Michael Johnson and booked him like he came off a win, as the UFC did a lot more back in the day, right? When they actually kind of cared, right? Diego Sanchez, Martin Kamen, even though this is pre-Fox, screw it. We're going to give them both $75,000 bonuses way back in 2009, and you wonder why people were complaining about the bonuses before they recently got moved up, right? Point is, these guys have been around. Volatile matchup, and Johnson, so he could be 4-3, and he could also be 4-4 if you count that he beat Alex Caceres by decision. Granted, it was an exhibition on his season of tough. Most of these guys, when their loss is the common thread against southpaws, it's grapplers, right? The Islam Makhachevs of the world. We just mentioned Dariush. That's kind of the common thread. But Johnson is shown to kind of, revisit the ghost of Christmas wrestling past, at least against a low-level guy like Darius Flowers. I don't know how much weight we can put on that, but I actually like Michael Johnson here, guys. I think that he can always lose because he's Michael Johnson, but usually he craps the bet again. What I said, grapplers, right? He can get knocked out, although those were in open stance affairs, not in southpaw affairs. He obviously has big one against Dustin Poirier with a lead hand. And one of the rule of thumbs in southpaw versus southpaw matchups, again, all context is different. You got to factor in everything. But akin to Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, a lot of people like myself were picking Poirier in the rematches because of the superior lead hand. We saw how effective that is in a southpaw versus southpaw matchup. And I think Michael Johnson is a superior left hand. I said I'd fire on him if he got down to -110 from his -170 opener. So I did. And at pick'em prices, I feel like it's pick a side and ride. No hate to Dober bettors. I'm a big Dober fan. He is such a likable guy, by the way. But I got Johnson here, guys. I'm curious what you guys got.
I am excited to break this one down, but first, we'll give the floor to my guy, VB. How do you see this one going down, my man? Fun matchup between 2 stalwarts of the lightweight division.
Yeah, I know. Both of them are pretty exciting fighters, especially Dober. I think he's more of a fan favorite, And he was my first bet on the card, last week. So I think he's the kind of guy who usually builds anyway, and that's what Johnson doesn't like, when he's getting pressure in 2 and 3 most of the time. And I don't know. People are saying Johnson is gonna take him down. It's like, what you think? Then is he gonna take him down? I don't know about that. They're saying we're gonna strike, in the press conference, and they're hugging and we're gonna strike. It's gonna be a show and stuff. So in that kind of fight, I have to favor Dober. He has the most knockouts, in the division. So
Yep.
I think he will build in this fight. Like I think early, I mean, Johnson is super fast, one of the fastest hands
Mhm.
in the division. I mean, this guy knocked out Poirier back in the day. He beat Prime Edson Barboza. He beat Prime Ferguson. Basically. So he's like sometimes losing to people like not to disrespect anybody, but like Stevie Ray, and then he's beating guys like that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
he can beat Dober. He can freaking beat maybe freaking I don't know. He can be a champion if he or right there. But he's also kind of old. Both of them are. I think if you look at the losses, Dober has 2 or 3 knockout losses. Johnson has a lot of finished losses at this point.
Mhm.
Even against Gaethje, he took so much damage. I thought after that he wouldn't be the same, but he kind of bounced back. Especially the last few fights. I think the line is moving down, partially also because Zell were showing last week.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
was such a bad showing that people are like, okay, that win doesn't matter. And before that, he was like Darius Flowers and Atman Azaitar. Both of them are also cut, so their win streak is there, but against the guys who are big losing streaks. So I'm gonna take Dober here. I think he maybe he loses round 1, maybe even round 2 is close. Round 3, I think he will walk him down. I think he will land big shots in round 3.
Mhm.
So finish or not, I think at some point Dober is gonna hurt Johnson. Johnson even against like Ferrera, he was doing fine. And then just one moment, he
Yeah.
forgets he's
Yeah.
in a cage or something. Gets knocked out. Even against like Thiago Moises, he was piecing Thiago Moises up, and then he gets like randomly heel hooked.
10-8 to a straight ankle lock
Yeah. Oh,
in the
that
blink of an
hurt.
eye.
Both those hurt my soul. Oh, bad flashbacks. True.
Yeah,
Very
funny
true.
comments though. In the,
Brutal run out.
I hope Dober is locked in. That's all I'm gonna say. And yeah, I think
BB, did I lose you? Was that me?
no.
Can you hear him, Dan Tom?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I hear
that's
both
me.
you
Hold
guys
on one
good.
second.
Check. Check. Can you hear us, Liam? Check.
I
Check.
can hear you. I don't know
Oh,
what just
cool.
happened. My
Can you hear
headphones
me?
disconnected and reconnected in the middle of this show. But
Shoot.
Can you hear me?
we're still live. Welcome to live entertainment, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
What
Wait,
was the point you just made, VB? That I so ingraciously misheard.
no, I was just saying like I hope Dober is locked in. He should not pay attention to anything on social media and stuff. He
Oh,
needs
I
to
mean,
fight where he
he's
fights.
definitely paying attention because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
had a come to Jesus meet and he say, "Hey, bro, just so you know, like I don't feel this way that they're posting online. Like it bothers me. Like I
Yeah.
feel bad for Drew Dober. He got wrapped up. He got wrapped up in the online Twitterverse. But man, I'll
Yeah.
give my synopsis on this fight quick. I think that when you look at these two guys, it's very hard to trust them both, right? I think the guy who had higher peaks in the UFC is Michael Johnson. Like he just has better wins on paper. He's a little bit better when all is said and done. If you just said like skill set for skill set, I think he's the better guy. But Drew Dober, some of those intangibles, right? The staying focused for 15 minutes, the constant pursuit of the goal, the you need to kill him to get him out of there type of attitude. Those are all the real positives for Drew Dober. I think the signs of his chin deteriorating and being on the fritz, let's say, have been evident since at least the Terrence McKinney fight in 2022. So you can just look back, and Drew Dober's chin has been on the fritz for a while. Michael Johnson, his chin at the best of times, a little bit sketch. And certainly in recent years, he's 39 years of age, right? Like we talk about all the time on this show, over 38 years of age, your likelihood of getting knocked out just skyrockets. It starts to go way up. And Drew Dober, he's no spring chicken, right? He's just chasing shortly there behind him. So I feel like both these guys are knockout liabilities. The difference is I just feel like Michael Johnson's a better minute winner. I feel like he does a better job establishing himself as the guy who's doing better work at distance. Brad Riddell, had mixed results in the UFC. He was able to win a primarily striking-based decision with Drew Dober. I think he did mix in a takedown or two there, if my memory serves, but it was a lot of stand-up striking, and, Brad was able to get the better of that. I think when you look at Michael Johnson, he's his own worst enemy, right? In that Carlos Diego Ferrera fight, I've told the story before, so I won't belabor the point, but my buddy was telling me, I'm going to bet Michael Johnson. Can you bet him for me? And I just told him, I was like, that's a bad idea. And then 7.5 minutes later, after he jawed me the whole time, you should have bet Michael Johnson. I told you to bet Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson's asleep in the middle of the canvas. Like, you want me to fucking bet on that guy? No. So if you watch this fight, Michael Johnson, you're going to have the same feeling, but it might go wrong at any time, right? If you're looking for the hot rounds for Drew Dober, could he knock him out in round 1? I think it's possible, but I think more often than not for Drew Dober, it would be round 2, it would be round 3. It would be Michael Johnson, starts hot, on the bike, touching him with the jab, moving, and then he's, starting to get in his own head. His coaches are screaming at him, please, Michael, put your hands up, Michael, move. And he's not doing the things that he's being coached to do, and he lets it slip through his fingers. That's the way he loses this fight. But because I see him just having a better process while things are going well, I'll pick Michael Johnson, but I don't think I'll ever bet Michael Johnson. I think I'm going to go his whole UFC career without ever placing a bet on Michael Johnson, and I'm okay with that. I can live with that result.
I'm surprised I bet him again, to be honest. So I'm scared. So we'll see, because I have bad luck with that. So maybe that's good news for you, VB. Let's go.
Well, I had Prepolek last time. I thought I did everything right, and then I got absolutely kicked in the
same.
nuts,
Me and
like
you
Kyle
both.
did,
Me and you
so.
both. Oh, that was brutal. That was a brutal.
Me, you, and
game.
Kyle, all three of us just lined up for that swift kick in the nads. But that brings us, of course, guys, to the next fight on the card. We got Rob Font taking on Raul Rosas Jr. And Rob Font, he's another guy that I've gotten to the window with. When you look at guys that are savvy veterans that kind of have all the skills that really know how to put it together, I had Rob Font plus 132 against John Matsumoto, and super close fight, right? Could have went either way, but you just saw the optics of Rob Font. He's a guy who understands what are the refs and the judges looking for. What are the things that could really separate me in a close round? If I just got back up to my feet and I've been being controlled, I need to go off right now. I need to score. I need to damage. I need to get some things that will last with the judges in their memory, resonate with them, and get me the win. And I think that's something that's pretty special about what he's done. I think when you talk about, these guys from Tyson Chartier's gym, they've struggled, right? They haven't had a ton of success at the UFC level. No disrespect, right? Like Calvin Kattar had a very solid career, then blew his knee out, and things kind of never really got back on track. But if you look at the New England Cartel, that's the gym, right?
Yep.
Moderate to mixed results at best, right? Rob Font basically realized, like, hey, there's a cap on my career if I stay here. And he went to TriStar MMA, right? He packed up his stuff, goes to Montreal, takes a lot of discipline, takes a lot of humility to say, like, I need to go get better coaching, and I need to see different looks and train with different guys. Ayman Zahabi is an older guy. He's no spring chicken, right? But he's had the best run of his career and put himself in the top position in the bantamweight division that he's ever been in right now. And one of his primary training partners is Rob Font, that they've been working together, getting these rounds in. Louis Sandinikas, I'm fucking up his name, I'm sure, but another guy putting in the rounds with him. And Rob has gotten better. And most guys at 38 don't get better. We say that like to a man, to a woman in the UFC, like we're talking about guys, we're expecting them to get worse. And at 38 going on 39, it's very possible that at one point Rob Font just falls off a cliff and looks terrible one night, right? Doesn't show up with anything left to give. But it's hard to project that for Rob Font based on what we've seen from him lately, which is that he's still showing up with piss and vinegar, wanting to fight, wanting to win, wanting to damage people, put hands on him, hurt him. That's what Rob Font does. And on the other side, I think Raul Rosas Jr. has a better A game than Rob Font. No doubt about it, right? Like he knows what he wants to do, where he wants to do it, wants to take you down, wants to put you in the spin cycle, wants to take your back, wants to win the fight from there. The problem is, he doesn't really have a B game or a C game or like much else to speak of. I would say his striking has shown some improvements in the UFC. He throws with power. He has some commitment to his strikes now. He's getting a little bit more comfortable sitting in his stance and throwing. But it is sit in your stance to throw long enough to shoot a takedown, and that's it. On the ground, I expected more ground and pound from this guy. I expected more, getting active with your hands on top, trying to get some respect there. That's how you open up submission attempts. That's how you give yourself, opportunities to make guys quit. You start damaging them, they want to give it to you. I'm not seeing that from Raul Rosas Jr. I'm not seeing him get very aggressive with his ground and pound. So Vince Morales, he kind of let him linger for a long time in that fight. Vince Morales, guys, is like 3-7 in the UFC off the top of my head. The guy just can't win a fight for love nor money. No disrespect. Again, Vince, a guy who goes out there and fights hard every time. It's just like the athleticism, his A game is not really an A game at all. It's like a B or a C game for any other guy. It's just Vince doesn't really have it. And he's out there lingering with you for 15 minutes. And he's coming back in round 3 and mounting some offense and rallying a little bit. And he's going for his submissions late in round 1, where Raul Rosas Jr. is falling off the back and making suboptimal decisions. And I watched the film, and that sometimes you're extremely impressed because you remind yourself, you're like, this kid's 21. This kid is so young. He's doing a lot of things right. He's very talented, clearly aggressive. But Rob Font, the one submission loss on his record, you might as well mark that one down as a knockout, all right? Pedro Munoz was fucking him up on the feet, straight up. Pedro Munoz was giving him the business on the feet. And Rob Font was like, hold on, I need a breather for a second. Shoots a takedown into the best guillotine merchant at 135 at the time. And that was the short, the start and the end of it, right? Raul Rosas Jr. is not really a guillotine guy. He's not really I'm going to club and sub you, hurt you on the feet, right? He's a back take guy. He's a takedown guy. And I do think he could take down Rob Font. I would not be stunned if he could take Rob Font's back. But I saw enough against Vince Morales to say, I'm not confident Raul Rosas Jr. is going to ride the back for 15 minutes here because I saw him fall off the back multiple times in that fight. So, like, you get to the exact position you want and then fall off. That's not promising, right? Like, again, when you're stepping up in competition, you're not taking a lateral step, right? I think Vince Morales, with all due respect, would get his ass whooped by Rob Font. And I think that when you look at, what Rob brings to the table, he's a guy that has a chip on his shoulder that knows, like, yeah, I'm not playing for title fights. I'm playing for stopping you from getting what you want. And he's just one of these guys. He's got a meanness about him, right? You give him one of these young kids, like, I don't think he's just going to, lay down and roll over for this guy. I just don't. So do I think that Raul could beat him, could just out-muscle him, out-hustle him in the grappling, get the jump on him? Yes. And the thing that's really, putting me off, the thing that's kept me off the line so far, it's just watching back that Corey Sandhagen fight where he gives up, 20 out of 25 possible minutes of control and just gets worked. And that's really not a promising look. But every other fight where he's met that resistance in the wrestling and somebody goes out there and just tries to take him down and lay on him, he's working back up to his feet. He's not settling for bottom position. He's continuously trying to threaten them with chokes, use his, length to create space at the hips, work back up to his feet, technical stand-up. And as soon as he's back on his feet, it is hands for you. It is feeding you hands for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I feel like Raul Rosas Jr., you go back and watch that fight with C-Rod where he lost. C-Rod let him off the hook because he should have finished him, and he didn't. Raul's tough for not getting finished there, but he had nothing left to give from a cardiovascular standpoint. He was getting owned positionally, and he was getting his ass whipped. That's the truth. And C-Rod kind of let him off the hook. Like, all right, young man, like you already learned your lesson. And he just started going for chokes and hanging out in top position, knowing he had it banked. I don't think Rob Font's like that at all. I think Rob Font would fight you in an alley, just to find out who's the tougher guy. Like that's how I see Rob Font. So, for me, this just feels like if there was a fight where Raul was going to fuck up and, kind of fall off as a big favorite, he's done it before in the UFC in this similar price range. Rob Font is a tough test. And, he's a gatekeeper for a reason. If you're not legit, Kyler Phillips is a good fighter, but he's not a legit top 15 guy. And he got found out when he fought Rob Font. He had 5 minutes to give, and that wasn't enough. And I feel like if Raul has 5 minutes to give, 7 minutes to give, it's not enough against Rob. So, we're going to get some answers about Raul. But for me, this is a dog or pass situation. I hate the age. I don't like some of the dynamics here. That's why I'm not like Rob Font, take it to the bank. There's clearly a world in which Rob Font loses this fight, looks like a dog. But I think Rob Font, especially live, like I'm going to be looking for Rob Font. If I see this kid taking a couple deep ones after the first round, I'm like, oh, buckle up, baby. It's time. Get on the Font train. What do you think about this one, Dan?
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the live look. I feel like that's the entry point, and it makes me feel a little better for being, as this is another fight I was referencing, me being a pussy because I am officially picking the favorite. But I completely agree. This is a dog or pass spot. If there's anything I want on Rob Font pre-flop, I threw him in my round robin officially, and the one unofficially, the alternate, I took over the counter just because the money line is too good at 2-1. You're almost principled there, but like Liam said, you're also going to get a better line because Raul Rosas Jr.'s best round is round 1, and it'll give you time to see the dynamics. Like you don't have to be like a Liam level of grappler to see like, is he getting up or is he wanting to play guard? And if he's trying to get up, how easy is he getting up? And knowing that Rob Font's going to be the better adjuster, the better staying power down the stretch. I thought I was being biased because I went behind enemy lines. I'm an extreme couture guy here in Vegas, and I went to Syndicate to interview Vince Morales. And, you know, you've interviewed fighters before, Liam, and it's like sometimes, you know, you interact with these fighters or maybe you train with some, you get these biases. But I was looking back and I'm like, oh wow, I actually picked Vince Morales, and I'm like, oh, I picked him by round 3 Darce, and I shared a clip where he's at the end of the round and he's in the Darce, and he actually had 2 decent submission catches that round. Did Vince Morales, because again, like Liam said, he allowed him to linger. So that's not going to look good. So last time when Font, when he fought Matsumoto, I had Font, and then I did the thing like I did this card where I'll put like the split decision prop as like a potential insurance / bonus. And that was a close beat that went my way, thankfully, because that was a huge swing for me that night to cash the split decision and the Rob Font money line there. So yeah, I got Font pre-flop here in my round robin, guys. I'm going to keep an eye out for live entries, but the reason why I'm picking Rosas Jr. is that Corey Sandhagen fight as well. And again, the Raul Rosas Jr., say what you will about him. You could be high on him, you could be low on him. He's at the age where he's going to be making jumps, and you have to leave room for that. You know, that's what's kind of baked into the age stuff that Liam's talking about. I don't see him putting away Rob Font, but I do see most likely a decision win where, you know, if you have the points handicap or something, hopefully you still cash that on Font.
There you go. Yeah, 1 round for Font seems pretty likely if this goes off 15 minutes. But, you know, let's see what Rosas can do with those takedowns, right? VB, what do you think about this one, my man? Any life with Rob Font here, or you think Rosas is going to put him through the spin cycle?
Yeah, I kind of feel like Rosas is going to take this, you know, like also like this, like somebody said on Twitter, I forgot who it was, but it's like a 4th biggest age gap we've seen ever, you know, in a fight. So it's like a 17 or 18 years. How many? Yeah, it's 17 years, right?
17
it's
years.
A lot. It's a lot, you know. And
Rob Font could have had a child and fought him already in this amount of time.
Yeah. So I don't know. One thing about Rob Font is like last couple of guys, Martinez, Matsumoto, Kyler Phillips, Figgy, you know, Yanes, Vera, like all of them basically like try to strike with them for the most part, besides Corey, you know. And Corey's not even a striker, and he had a lot of success in that fight, just doing really nothing on top, just keeping him down, you know. And Rafan was okay to lose a decision for, I don't know. Like usually Rafan comes out, he tries to win, you know, but in that fight he was like, I'm bored, or he forgot how to get up. I don't know what happened, you know. But the guy didn't try. And Corey had an excuse to fight like that, you know, because he was injured. I don't think Rafan had an excuse to fight like that at all, you know, like what was he doing for 25 minutes in the fight, you know?
2 injured guys laying there in the middle of the octagon.
Was
I think
Font
that's
also injured?
Watched,
I didn't know. Was he?
I would have to imagine, because
I don't think
either
so,
one of them showed much effort in that fight. I know that Corey's bicep, was fucked up, but I think that Rob Font also was injured there.
Yeah. I know for a fact Corey was. So even if he was or wasn't, I think he was making a lot of mistakes. And if he had somebody on top like Raul Rosas there, I think he would have gotten stopped, to be honest, because when Rafan gets tired, he makes a lot of mistakes on the ground, you know, personally, my opinion. So I think Rosas could actually stop him. People think it's 2-3 Font, but I think it could be Rosas 2-3 here, to be honest, you know. I have a contrary take, I guess. So yeah, I think Rosas' decision is most likely outcome, but I think 2-3 sub is not the worst play, you know.
Yeah, man, I don't hate where your head's at. I think it's more likely to be early if it happens. Like, I think Rosas, like, if he just barnstorms him and takes his back while they're both dry, that would be, for me, the more plausible way. I just haven't liked what I've seen from his cardio. But, I mean, again, every style is a little bit different, right? Every matchup. So maybe he can have a little bit more success here. And Font is getting up there in age. One thing that can go with age is cardio. But I just feel like Rob has shown a little bit better conditioning lately. But if you're in horrible positions, it doesn't really matter that much, I suppose.
Yeah, once he gets tired, he just makes too many mistakes, in my opinion, you know. And he gets tired quicker with grappling, of course, because he's a good striker, you know.
No doubt. Speaking of a guy who made too many mistakes last time, Rene Ritter. Oh, he was looking so good. Rattled off 4 wins and as many appearances in the UFC. Then he tries to go 5 fights in 12 months, and oh my goodness, he looked terrible. He just looked so terrible against Brendan Allen. A shell of himself in many ways. And Caio Barajo on the other side, I thought he looked like himself against Nasruddin Imavov. He just didn't look good, right? Nasruddin Imavov was a level above him, kind of shut him down, shut down his game, kept him on the outside for the most part. I expected more takedown attempts, more wrestling, more grappling from Barajo. He was much more, reticent to accept the striking matchup he was being offered. I thought that was poor game planning from a guy who calls himself the fighting nerd. I was like, man, I would have expected 12 takedown attempts at a minimum against this guy to try and get him tired, to try and make him feel something, right? Phil Hawes, was able to eke out a split decision. Granted, it was a long time ago. I know Imavov's improved, but it was for making him clinch fight and wrestle, against the fence and, making him tired and making him feel him physically. And I just felt like Caio Barajo, I expected more from him, and I was let down by the performance. I thought it'd be more competitive, if nothing else. With Rene Ritter, I did think that when I was watching it, I was like, holy shit, this, all the activity has caught up with this guy. He does not look like he's ready to be out there at all. Now I feel like Rene Ritter looks like he's in great shape, ready to be here. So I think we're going to get the best version of Rene that we can expect at 35. I think he's kind of at the right, meeting of physical conditioning with, hey, I'm 21-3. I had a 5-round fight with Robert Whittaker. He's kind of got a lot of things working for him, even though he lost that last fight. Same thing you could say for Barajo, right? 17-2, great record. Done well in the UFC, 7 up, 1 down, losing to Imavov. There's no shame in that. He's a great fighter. But, I think a lot of the things that make Barajo special is he can take you to a place where you're not good, right? If you're a great striker, he'll wrestle you, he'll grapple you. But if you're a wrestler and grappler, he'll keep it on the feet, he'll strike with you. That's kind of the thing that makes him dangerous or special. And I think the other side here is Rene Ritter, he's a guy that's a very special grappler. I think when you watch, somebody said it to me on Twitter earlier. They were like, I need you to do a video about the fights because I need you to say, one does not simply pass the guard of Andre Galvao. But that's true. And I watched him do it. So Rene Ritter, this guy is very special on the mat. And, Galvao's got his own issues to be dealing with. But this was pre-issues. This was pre any of that. Rene Ritter did his damn thing, and he deserves credit for that. So I think the guy's an incredible grappler. I think Caio Barajo is a very good grappler as well, but certainly less confident in it, certainly less assertive with it. I can just promise you that if, De Ritter's fighting Imavov, he's going takedown attempt, guard pull. He's trying to make this guy grapple with him by hook or by crook, any which way you could do it. And I think that when you watch how he fights, he's an awkward puzzle to solve. Even that first round for Brendan Allen, he needed to take some time, get through that, let him burn himself out a little bit. Then he could kind of take over the pace. But Rene Ritter is a guy that pushes forward, throws hard, brings knees up the middle, does awkward things. I don't know that Caio Barajo, he can do a clean fight with Rene. I have no doubt about that. But I don't know if he can or wants to do a dirty fight with Rene where they are in the clinch and he's throwing those knees. They're going 50-50 knees in the clinch. Rene Ritter is more than comfortable in that fight. And Caio Barajo, for as good as he's done in the UFC, a lot of it has been on his terms, when he wanted it, where he wanted it. And last fight, he couldn't set the terms. He looked all out of sorts. You look back, Caio Barajo gave up a takedown to Gadzi Mahulov or whoever he was, 0-2 in the UFC. Not good. Right? He gave up takedowns to Makhmud Muradov. What? You watch back that fight, he gave up nearly a full round of control time to Makhmud Muradov. I think Rene Ritter would grapple circles around Makhmud Muradov. I'm sorry. I just think that's the case. I don't think it would be close. So I believe that Caio Barajo is a good fighter, well-rounded, talented guy, and could win this fight. But this is another one where it feels like to me, you got 2 guys that are both very solid in the division. 2 guys that I think are both clearly top 10 middleweights in the world. And one of them's being priced like he's a bum and a loser because he's coming off a loss that was one-sided, no doubt about it, where he kind of phoned it in. The difference between these two, the reason why you have to favor Caio, in my view, Caio's never been finished. Caio's never said uncle. Caio never quit on himself, obviously getting his ass whooped in his last fight. Rene DeRitter has said uncle. He's taken the door. He's gone home before. Except that, you take that out of the equation, I think it's a very close and competitive fight on paper. So for me, it's a clear dog or pass situation. I was on Rene DeRitter when he fought Bo Nickel. Cash it. But I'll just say this one I don't feel as good about. I felt like Bo was going to be way too uncomfortable with the pressure. Caio Barajo has more experience. He's been fighting for longer. He's done it in more disciplines. He's got a striking game to fall back on. He checks more boxes than Bo Nickel did in a similar price range. But I feel like Bo Nickel, we knew he could get the top position. We knew if they were going to wrestle, he could get there. The problem was he didn't want to be there when he got there. He was like, oh, shit, I'm on top, but I'm still getting wrapped up and things are still going sideways. I got to flat back myself to not get guillotined. It was a problem for him, right? In this fight, I'm not sure who's getting top position. And if you could tell me, RDR is the one who gets top position here, that's a problem for Caio as far as I'm concerned, because I did not see enough aggressive movements to get up off his back against Macklin Murdo. So for me, again, when you just have two guys priced like this, where I feel like both of them are on small margins, give me the big plus money and hope, as far as I'm concerned, or pass on the fight. Danton, do you see it the same way? How do you feel about this one, man? The natural or RDR? Who gets it done?
So I went in looking to parlay Bohio. I'm a big Kyle Bohio fan, and I picked him against Imavov, but like you, Liam, he let me down. And I went from not just picking against Imavov, favoring Bohio so much, but I tried to get swayed by the interview guys. But the way he talks, I'm like, wow, this guy really lives up to the fight nerds, mantra. The way he was breaking down Khamzat Chimaev, I was like, he could maybe if he beats Imavov, he could be like the low-key dark horse stylistic kryptonite to Chimaev. I had all these ideas in my head, Liam. And then I was let down, So I'm like, I don't know how much I'm overcorrecting the steering wheel here. Let's not give up hope. And I get what people say on paper, Bohio is a bad matchup. That's what everybody says. And I get it if you're saying, okay, he's a striker who can counter. He's got that southpaw check hook and the left cross, right? He also has a judo base, so the clinch could nullify there. He also is a skilled jiu-jitsu practitioner, trains with high-level people, so he could cancel it out there. And he's the better game planner, better cardio. Again, we haven't seen him falter as far as durability points. Liam brought up. Boom, there's your earned favorite. Fine with that. Was my official pick on the Dogger Pass show. And although I feel like I don't need to, and I haven't before, I'm allowed to change my pick at the 11th hour. I really try not to do that. And also, even though I am not changing my pick from Bohio, I did say on the Dogger Pass show, what I ended up gravitating toward was, I said, this is a Dogger Pass spot. I like the DeRitter points handicaps. I like over angles in this fight. If you're going to play, that's where, or the DeRitter money line, I think that's where the side is, because DeRitter, even though he is not like a striker to write home about, right? I was right about the Bo Nickel one as well, right? I had the KO prop, but even though I could be salty about being wrong and taking GM3 and being like, oh, GM3 was doing well until he got hurt at the last second, or all these circumstances, or did he really beat Robert Whitaker? We can go revisionist, right? But at the end of the day, the fact is the guy makes it a dogfight, and he's a deceptively effective fighter. And from a scoring perspective, even if you think that he's not the better striker, that, I'll even give Bohio a slight edge in the clinch, and I'll give Bohio a slight edge on the ground grappling, the newaza, the jiu-jitsu, right? Okay, fine. I still will raise you the point, and you can tell me if you agree with this, VB and Liam, that DeRitter is going to be giving the judges more to score. It's not going to be pretty. Half the shit might not even be landing, or much less hurting Bohio, right? But he's going to be giving more to score. And what's Bohio's problem been is that I couldn't make any stylistic parallels from that Imavov fight, Liam. But this is something I noticed. And as I pass it to VB, you guys feel free to weigh in on this. I feel like Kyle Bohio lacks the ability to change gears. So even if he's the prettier, more technically proficient, less disjointed fighter in every phase, is he really gonna be pushing? Is he really gonna be pushing that? He is 1-0 against Southpaws, right? Against Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. And in that fight, Oleksiejczuk's a guy that's going to bring the best out of him, and that's a Southpaw versus Southpaw matchup. So I went back to watch it, right? And yeah, he's looking the part. He is looking like he's a bit more up tempo than normal is Bohio, but it's really just a lot of window dressing, in my opinion. And in fact, he was kind of just waiting for his opportunistic takedowns, which was the obvious advantage and the smart move. But the point is, I don't know if Kyle Bahio can change gears and match a fighter, even if they're sloppy like the Ritter is. Can he match that changing gears? And the last point before I pass on a VB to touch on a Liam point that's important, we haven't seen him have to defend a takedown in nearly 4 years. So how much of an on-paper bad matchup do we really know he is? Certainly not the number he's represented. Dog or pass, I ended up firing on De Ritter's points handicap at -105. I gave it out at +130 on the show, and then after I went to the show, like within hours, it was down to -105. I'm like, screw it, I'll fire on that. That's all I got in this one, guys.
There you have it. So a fight that's favored to go to the scorecards, and you're taking the dog to cover, at least around there.
And one other thing, in my official round robin, I put a fight ends in split decision as well, because again, I think this is really greasy, and it's going to confuse even the judges if it hits the cards.
Subjective, the pretty fighting of Barajo versus the effective fighting of RDR's sloppy, ugly mess. I absolutely love it. VB, what do you think about this matchup, my man? Is there any value on the dog, or you like Caio Barajo to come back and hold serve as a favorite here?
Yeah, I'm gonna, remember your words. Like you told me like few years ago, like, and I kind of stuck with me. Like when grapplers come to the UFC, right, and you add elbows and punches, like it's a different game, And even though RDR is grappling with these guys on high level and stuff, like Brendan Allen beat the piece out of this guy. You know what I mean? Not because he's like that much better grappler, because he was just elbowing this guy nonstop, And at some point he kind of got broken. So I think like it's gonna be something like that again. I think RDR is gonna grapple. Maybe he'll take him down, maybe not. I don't know, but I see this fight as like guy on top, kind of camping out, winning minutes. RDR throwing arm bars at him. Maybe he will put him in few styles, but I don't think he will get him. And I just think Caio is gonna win decision here. Like I don't know. I think I parlayed Caio a few days ago. Like one of my least confident plays, to be honest, especially at the price. I thought RDR was. I don't know. I don't think he's he fraud checked Bo, and now he kind of got fraud checked. So I just don't have good read on this guy. So I have only one unit on guy at this price. I think he'll win decision. But RDR sub is +1,000, by the way. If you guys interested, it's not a bad line. Because if you guys think he's that kind of grappler, I mean, if he's beating Galvao and if he beat, who did he beat also? There's one guy he also beat in grappling. I'm forgetting the name. But he also beat somebody very good.
While you're thinking of that, I just want to give you props, VB, for the second time you've used the word camping out on top. You're bringing me back to my Counter-Strike days, my friend. I don't know if we've shared any Counter-Strike servers. You're using that first-person shooter parlance that's near and dear to my heart. So I love it, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, so we'll see. What you think?
Rotolo.
Yeah.
It was a loss, but he was a
he
competitor.
grappled basically all the best grapplers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So him by sub at +1,000 seems kind of crazy, especially when Liam said Murado was on top of this guy for like one round, basically, And some of these prices Caio hasn't covered. Like if you look at Murado, he didn't cover that price, like in my opinion. I don't think he covered like, even if you look at like, I don't know, this guy Abus, there was competitive too in a way, So
yeah, his 2 UFC finishes are against I think 9-10-1 Paul Craig, and then Michal Oleksiejczuk 10-7, who's now his teammate. And like that's a fine win, but like the way to beat Michal Oleksiejczuk is to just embarrass him on the ground. It always has been, and it's just like you look at. He's kind of only done the job against guys he's supposed to, and everybody else was a fairly competitive decision. So, yeah, that was the reason behind why I think RDR is live. But, you got to know with a guy like RDR. He's sloppy. What's that?
Do you think he can win decision, or for me, he's kind of like sub or bust here, in my opinion.
RDR? Well, here's the thing. I think Danton made a great point, which is about the volume. I think that, like, there's nothing technically that RDR does on the feet that you would teach, right? Like a lot of it is really disgusting, but it's there, right? He's a doer of things. He just keeps fucking throwing, going, trying shit. And Kaio at times is taking pictures. He's watching. You know, he wants it to be perfect. He wants to land the perfect left hook and the great right hand. And if they don't present themselves, time's just ticking, you know, and that's for me the risk for Kaio going to the scorecards here. It's like trying to, you know, make everything perfect and letting the perfect be the enemy of the good, right? Rene de Ritter, he ain't going to let the perfect be the enemy of shit. He's just going out there to try shit. And if it works, awesome. And if it doesn't, I might quit at some point. But I'm going to go out there and try shit. That's a guarantee, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I for me, where I looked at this on the feet, Kaio to me looks cleaner striker. Maybe he can get knee a few times, but overall, him versus Cannonier kind of impressed me. You know, I think his striking looks very impressed.
He knocked that guy out, by the way. They fucking robbed him blind. That was a knockout in round 5.
Yeah, he dropped him bad, man. He was swimming like Cannonier was.
I mean, the lights were on. Nobody was home. Jared Cannonier's laying on the ground, like doing astral travel, and the ref's like, I don't know. I think he's somebody's in there still.
Yeah, that was a.
He's like, I can still see the light in his eyes. Punch him again. Like, it's just not good.
So for me, Kaio has basically more ways to win than RDR. You know, I think Kaio could maybe knock him out. He could win decision. Sub, I don't think he subs him, to be honest. I think only guys.
I would be very surprised if Kaio subbed it. I would.
I would be kind of, but you know better.
Oh, well, I mean, the thing is, fatigue makes cowards of men, right? Like, Adolfo Vieira doesn't get subbed unless he's exhausted.
Yeah, but he's
exhausted, he could get tapped. But
his guard game
even that Brendan Allen fight, like, you know, I think he would have eventually gotten tapped by Brendan Allen, not because he's worse at jiu-jitsu, but because he was so exhausted that, like, you can't defend yourself properly anymore. And in this fight, I just don't see him getting to that level of fatigue in 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's 3 rounds, right? So we'll see what happens. But RDR sub plus 1,000, man. If you like RDR, I think that's the play also.
Big numbers.
I might have to rub my hands together and certainly consider that one. RDR, the thing about him though, I'll just say, if I play it, I'll probably have to go money line, because I said the same thing before the Bo Nickel fight. I thought, like, if you start throwing knees to the body and going crazy on somebody, you can get him out of there. I'll also just note the Kevin Holland fight goes down as a submission. He beat the shit out of Kevin Holland before that submission. He took him down, beat his ass, and he could have just kept punching him and they would have stopped that fight. But instead he was like, you know what, Kevin, out of respect, give me your neck and I'll get you out of here, buddy. But that was cold. Speaking of taking the neck, one of the absolute legends in the UFC have taken the neck. We got the glove right here. Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira, ready to do war against Max Blessed Holloway. Max Holloway, the defending champion, the BMF title, not a real title, but we'll take it, right? If there was ever 2 guys to fight for a fictional title and get some more money, these 2 guys deserve it as much as anybody. So I think that it should be a fun fight. It should be all action. We'll kick it over to our guy VB first. What do you think about this main event, my man? Max Holloway, 34 years of age, still looking, you know, every bit of, a great fighter, but maybe that legendary chin starting to waver just a touch. And Charles Oliveira on the other side, always dangerous, always in there with the best, always shown himself to be one of the best submission artists in the UFC. But he's also rounded out that striking game, you know, got some knockouts on the ledger. What do you think about this matchup? Who gets their hand raised on Saturday night?
Yeah, this is the second of Kaio parlay Holloway here, you know. I just think, you know, Holloway is in a better spot in general at this point. Like, Charles, again, the most finishes is very dangerous. But I just think this stylistically, it's a nightmare for him, you know. Like, people go forward against Holloway, they pressure him, you know, and they eat 400, 300 strikes. And I just don't think Oliveira can take that many strikes to the head at this point, you know. Like, he will for sure pressure Holloway. Like, I have no doubts almost that he will go forward. He will pressure Holloway. He will try to hurt Holloway, maybe create a scramble, you know. But when people go forward against Holloway, again, the records are being set up on their heads, you know. Like, Calvin Kattar went forward and he ate 400 strikes, you know. Gaethje went forward, he got pieced up. Poirier went forward, he got pieced up. Like, Holloway will make you kind of look silly if you go forward. Even against Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo was pressuring him. He got also pieced up. So I think it's same here. I think Oliveira is going to pressure. I think he will eat many strikes. whether if it's early or late, I think he will get stopped by knockout, So I like Holloway. I like Holloway knockout. I like Tazasta round 4 also because it's Holloway and Oliveira. Both of them are capable of finishing each other, pretty easily, I would say. That's kind of also like kind of to make it a little bit safer if Holloway let's get stabbed or something, But I just don't think you can go forward against Holloway and do well in this kind of style, Especially when Oliveira's chin is. If there was something left with Oliveira's chin, like Topuria took it. Like he just dusted him very badly in that fight. So I don't think his chin was there in the first place because every fight he gets dropped. But if there was anything, Topuria for sure took it. You know what I mean? So I don't think he can endure the kind of damage here and eat 400 strikes and still stand. So give me Holloway.
There you go. One click for the favorite. We've got VB on Max Holloway in the main event. Dan Tom, what do you think here, my man? Are you making it unanimous? You like Max Holloway as well here? You like the dog, Charles Oliveira? What are you thinking on this one?
Oh, I love Charles Oliveira, but just not here. And also, I saw you flash Jewish better. Shout out to that guy. Is another name I was thinking about when I was talking about tendencies earlier, about knowing not just fighter tendencies, but your own tendencies. And he's like you, Liam. He grapples right and can sniff out the subs. So shout to that dude. And that's a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier. But as far as this fight goes, yeah, I will close it. Spoiler alert: I do have Max Holloway. Hawaiian bias aside, again, big dude Bronx fan. He's made me a ton of money, and anybody a ton of money, because you got him at plus odds a lot more and a lot longer than you've ever gotten Holloway at plus money, right? But as somebody who also was on the Liam train against Gaethje and cashed a round 5, I don't think those are as live, as sexy as that is. Like some of the bet, I can complain about my bad beats all day and this and that, yeah. But you know what, guys? I've cashed some of like the coolest bets too, like Korean Zombie versus Yair Rodriguez. I had fight doesn't go the distance, and I was pulling my hair out because they kept high-fiving, if anybody remembers that fight. And I just walked away from the screen at the 3-second mark because I was like, this is done. I lost this bet, ending on a loss. And all of a sudden I turn around hearing like, oh my goodness. And it's like Family Guy style. Korean Zombies out, right? And then of course having round 5 max. I mean, how does it get better than that? That being said, I agree with what VB said. I don't think this even sees maybe round 4. So I did a shotgun spread in hot rounds, which not all hot rounds, because round 1's live, but I'm like an anti like round 1 better, right? I'm like an anti-under guy, of course. So I went round 2, 3, and 4. Some Scottie Pippins there, 0.33 U's, just under a unit exposure. And I mentioned Sumudaerji in a parlay. I got him at plus 107. You get like plus 113 at some houses if you like. You're trying to eat chalk for whatever reason, like me, like a dummy. But that's what I did here because, again, I think it's a bad stylistic matchup. And VB pointed it out beautifully when guys come forward, and he gave a long list, but it's been actually extra bad as of late because Max has been really sitting into his kicks, his punches, and being able to fight more off the back foot. In fact, if you go back and read my Gaethje breakdown of why I took Max, it was because I was, I was already pointing out that, hey, guys, if you're paying attention, he's actually been, you look at Korean Zombie, Arnold Allen at the end of their fight, he drops him. It's because they did what VB astutely pointed out. They rushed him. And that's what Charles Oliveira does. And Charles Oliveira, like Justin Gaethje, they're blind guys in there. We love them. They're violence king, but they're blind guys in there, right? There's a reason why they strike so well off of collar ties. They have more tactile sense of striking. Gaethje with his inside parry triggers. We talked about the inside parry earlier, and Oliveira is the same way, and Max has been getting pretty good with it. He actually was tagging up Topuria in a fight that he was doing better than a lot of people remembered. Off those, he will have his own clinch tactics, which will be dangerous, but ultimately it's the fact that Max can move on the outside and also still be dangerous with knockout power. I feel like it's a bad matchup, and again, that footwork, kind of like hopefully for Sumudaerji, my other leg of the parlay, the footwork is also part of the takedown defense. I went back to read my original breakdown of this. It was the first fight I ever broke down publicly, guys. Still published, mixedmartialanalyst.com, August of 2015. So it's a real weird week for me. This is a positive of the week. So this is kind of cool for me. If I might, feather myself for a second, forgive me. But it's a really cool to see this fight happen again. And I wish I had more nuanced analysis, but I've gone long enough. And ultimately, if you read that first breakdown, It's kind of what I'm saying here with the addition of, and I said it in the first breakdown, body work. Not enough people go to Charles Oliveira's body. And even back in the day, whenever I was breaking down fights, guys, whoever was going against Charles Oliveira, the first thing I would look at is, okay, did they go to the body? You know, I remember even like breaking down Miles jury tape, trying to like, does this guy kick to the body? Does he do anything to the body? You have to go to the body. We know Max does. He did it that first time he came out southpaw. I think we're going to see southpaw Max here. And I actually threw in the alternate, and I threw the plus 1400 Max by sub, man, because the guillotines can be there. Liam, I'll pass it to you. You know the front jokes better than me. You know the history that I'm referencing with Charles. Was that crazy? Or feel free to push back on any of that.
No, and Max had always talked about in these BMF. I've blown some units, obviously small bets, but I had Max by sub in the fight with Gaethje, right? Because I just felt like if he wanted to push the grappling, he could, and I had it at 27-1. Now it's 14-1 to sub one of the best submission artists in the UFC, and that's in part because of what Max said in the lead up to this fight, where he said, Charles is known for his jiu-jitsu and all this stuff. It'd be really special if I could go out there and submit him and do something crazy, And Max is the kind of guy to do shit like that, right? Like, he's the kind of guy that if it's a BMF title fight, he'll point down and give you the chance to swing with him at the end. And, hey, maybe, if you're a jiu-jitsu guy, you're known for them submissions. If he hurts you, has you, 60% of the way out or something, he might snatch on that grip, right? And we have seen Charles get choked before. To your point, being great at submitting people is not a get out of submissions free card, right? Like, it doesn't work like that. So I do think Charles' willingness to put himself in the pocket, to be in the fire, to attempt offense could be his undoing as well. Now, I think that the biggest chance for Charles to win this fight is to test the grappling of Max Holloway. I think Max is a sensational grappler. I always have. I just talked about why I bet his submission prop a few fights ago. But when you talk about where has maybe Max not been tested throughout his career, I think that is the number one, area that he hasn't been tested in, right? He's fought strikers. He even fought a couple guys who you'd class as like wrestlers, right? Like a Volkanovski, a Frankie Edgar. But are they really known for like, man, they're jiu-jitsu, right? Just watch them at the Mundials, you wait for this guy at ADCC. It's like, they're not really guys like that. Whereas Charles is a real submission threat. He's a really dangerous grappler. And he's also a guy who's improved his wrestling by leaps and bounds over the course of his UFC career. But Max, I just really respect him as a wrestler. I respect him as a grappler. I feel like he's very difficult to get one over on in those positions. And again, the competition has something to do with that. But I also think he's really got the baseline skills. He understands where he needs to be with his hands, with his hips, where he wants to be. And he's not been kind to these Brazilian legends, right? Like Jose Aldo, he gave him a beat down in one stance, switched stances, gave him a beat down in the other stance. Like, it was kind of, one-way traffic for most of those fights, and Aldo's a great fighter. Max Holloway is one of these guys that if you're going to present yourself in a Muay Thai stance in front of him, he's going to touch you a lot of times, right? He's going to give you a lot to think about. To your point, you got a guy with a big, long body and torso like Charles Oliveira. That's going to be, primed up to get some rib roasters, to get touched up a little bit there. The body jab, I think, is going to be there all day for Max. I think it was Luke Thomas, his analysis said, like, it starts and ends with the jab for Max. Like, he needs the jab to win a fight. And I agree with that. But against an opponent like this, I think instead of just going jab to the head, he can go jab to the body as much as he wants here and kind of have free lanes at that. So I think Max is a really dangerous guy. I went back and forth at the beginning of the week and where my analysis was, but the more I thought about it, I feel like Max has a sustainable game for 5 rounds. I feel like he's extremely dangerous in all positions. I think that we know about Max Holloway, his cardio, his output is tremendous, almost otherworldly. And Charles, great submission grappler, right? Like, submitting Garbrandt, that's no joke. That's a really impressive skill set. But the difference I feel there is that Garbrandt didn't have anything to keep Charles at bay, to keep him, respecting what was coming back at him. And I feel like Max Holloway, he does have that. I feel like he's gotten more powerful as his career's gone on. He's gotten more powerful as he's settled into this 155-pound weight class, but he's always been able to touch you with a lot of volume and overwhelm people. And I do think that Charles, he relied on Dustin slowing down and some of these other guys slowing down in the past and, not having the ability to work with him at that crazy pace that he pushes. And I just think that he might set a pace that not even he can sustain in this fight because Max just is one of the cardio kings of the UFC. So if the ABCs say always bet on cardio, it's hard to bet against this guy, Max Holloway. The best is blessed. I think he gets his hand raised once again on Saturday night. But I'm a Charles Oliveira fan. If he gets the job done, if he goes out there and locks up that submission, it's nothing but love and respect in this household. But I always got to keep it a buck, got to call it like I see it. And I think Max Holloway is going to get his hand raised. So that's what I'm telling you people. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this show. I want to thank my two great guests for the time, for the effort, for the energy. 2 hours and 20 minutes. We're putting it on wax. Appreciate everybody for the love and support. Thank you so much to my guy, Dan Tom, whose work you can find over at MMA Junkie. You can also find him on the Dog or Pass podcast. His information is linked down in the description box below. Dan Tom, anything that you want to say to the people or get off your chest? The floor is yours, my man.
Dude, it was an honor to be in this non-homoerotic sandwich between you and VB and get to hear your guys' insights. I get to hear myself way too much, and apologies if I talk too much. It was an honor to be here, and yeah, definitely follow these guys, and I'll see how I do. I dare say I have some positive vibes going into the event. Excited to see it nonetheless, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, brother, and so glad that it's your anniversary of breaking down your first fight. As a guy who's in ass in the jackpot every fight, every week, writing and breaking them down, I know what a slog it is, what a grind it is. So I'm sure there's some catharsis and some positive feelings knowing how much work you've done and getting to look back on that. So congratulations, my man. My favorite analyst in the game. I've always said it. I maintain that. VB, my brother, the floor is yours. Anything you want to say, anything you want to get off your chest, my brother.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to thank you for inviting me. It was a great show, 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I think we covered almost everything, there was to cover. And it was a great show for sure. Thank you for it again. Everybody in the comments also. Your audience is very nice to us also. So I want to thank them. And last week I did very well. I hate Bobby Green. I hate Kavana. I hate Tarin, So I want to keep it going this week. If you want to follow me on X, it's BBMMA Picks on YouTube also. Sometimes I have Liam on, so check me out, and best of luck to everybody, and hope you guys make some money and have fun, and of course, enjoy fights. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, VB. I also linked VB's stuff down in the description. So anything that you're looking for from myself, from my two great guests, you can find it all in the description below. I want to say thank you so much to the sharpest chat in the game. Last week, guys, I couldn't make it. It's the first time in years that I was not able to put out a show. I couldn't line things up with my guests. I was at the state tournament last week. So it was a busy week for me. Our guy, Will Soto, third in New York State. Shout out to him. Great wrestler, even better young man. And now it's on to the offseason. So I have a little bit more time on my hands to break down these fights, to put out the content, everything like that. Appreciate everybody for the patience in between. But with that being said, guys, all I got for you now. God bless. Good luck. Enjoy those fights and come back next week. We're having all the same fun again. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you.